Snow fell cold on a bitter night. John was gone for the morning light. They blame Karen, but it don't sit right. Too many secrets hid from sight. Oh, the badge runs deep, the law runs thin. They stack the deck, but truth won't bend. The judge looks away, the truth gets drowned. Ain't no justice in Canton Town. Proctor's story shifts and sways. Cameras vanish, records fade. The Alberts toast while the doubts grow strong. The folks still fight, won't be long. Oh, the badge runs deep, the law runs thin. They stack the deck, but truth won't bend. The judge looks away, the truth gets drowned. Ain't no justice in Canton Town. Proctor's story shifts and sways. Cameras vanish, records fade. The Alberts toast while the doubts grow strong. The folks still fight, won't be long. Oh, the badge runs deep, the law runs thin. They stack the deck, but truth won't bend. The judge looks away, the truth gets drowned. Ain't no justice in Canton Town.
Hey everyone, welcome back, and that will be our new intro doing the Karen read. I need to go back and add some text some places and stuff like that, but that's what I've been working on. So does anyone want my back? I did around 4 hours of rolling spring rolls. What's rolling spring rolls? I don't know. I thought we should have something. I think we had one for the last one. I think actually I made a lot of ones during the last trial, but I think this will be the one we run with in the Karen Reed trial. Just need to clean it up some places, put some text on it. And talking about putting text on stuff. I put some text on different merchandise, and I got a few samples of it. So if you are gonna join watching Karen, hopefully this time have a fair trial. This is really not the best print color, but still, I have 2 cups, 2 t-shirts, and I will be doing a giveaway stream. I'll better be looking at this weekend, so there's a chance you can have it in hand during the Karen Reed stream. If you want to participate. I also have 1 box of chocolate that wasn't claimed for the last one, and a book that wasn't claimed for my, I believe it's November giveaway, so I feel I can do it again. So if you want to participate, I'll find a day and do a giveaway again, because yeah, I haven't had one since my birthday, and I've hit No, yeah, no. And I've hit a few no, Christmas. Was Christmas my last giveaway? No, I had one after Christmas. I had one for my birthday on my 12,000. And we just passed 15,000 subscribers. And is there Kim Doherty in the Karen Reed case? Someone who has a searchable witness list. Go in there. On my birthday, yeah. That was when I gave away. You can't trust me with regards to books anymore. But I think it's a book about, I don't even know which book it was. They never came back. They said they had to move and then they would write me. And I never heard back from them. And it's been 3 months. So I think I can give it to someone else. I'm not sure I get that either. And but I'll find a spot, probably maybe Saturday, and we can do the normal stick of the giveaway and just hang out, give away some stuff. Mo have been asking about getting up to date on the Karen Reed case, so maybe I can get her on. We can talk a little bit about it, and we can do all the Donati. That's not a lot. And we can just have a nice cozy, like normal giveaways are, and maybe Valhalla won't cheat again this time. Gotta stay off those reefers. So that'll be something I will be planning for this. Oh, freie Körperkultur. Yeah. That was really big in Germany. Well, it still is, but it really grew out of Germany in the 20s, I think they started freie Körperkultur. That's being a nudist. For those of you who don't speak German, only dumb people do it. Brandon asked, I don't know who asked, but I don't see a Doherty on the line. I think it was a name. Yeah, that was the name asked. Brandon asked. So maybe he has some inside baseball. That's what the cool kids say when they get butt dials from Higgins. Yeah, 80. I think you're the lowest we ever seen. But yeah, and I have a medium women T-shirt. It looks small, but you're all slender, small, petite women, so you can be lucky, or you can give it to your daughter, or maybe if you have a big dog. And I have a unisex XL. So sadly, not everyone can participate, but that's what I got home this time. So when I figure out when we do it, I think it'll be Saturday. I'll find some time Saturday to do it. Jamie is too small to wear a size medium. Jamie is XS kid size. Is this where we watch the anti-Reed coverage? No, today it's Dr. Tuerk, the Richard doctor who strangled his wife via force choke. And he's about to take the stand, if I understood his defense attorney correctly. Well, thank you, Dave. If you want the anti-Reed coverage, I have some suggestions, and I will mail them to you with a chlamydia-ridden pigeon. We don't talk about what here? Someone is really having a bad day today. There was pretty good Swacia this morning, and now everyone is just bottoming out. You watched what channel last night? Lefty's channel? Couldn't call that pretty good. It's okay. He likes to ride horses. Only Steven can pull it above 50%.
Court's now in session. You may be seated.
I wasted so much time sending people over to you. Come on now.
All right, anything before the jurors come over?
Yes, please. May we approach?
Yes.
You're about to see why Reddington is the go-to attorney on dark cases. Don't let him bother you. He hasn't bothered me, but I haven't been impressed with him. I think he's been doing a good job with professional witnesses. I didn't like him with civilian witnesses. I don't think he's doing well with them. And by civilian, I mean those Kurt and her friend. I didn't feel he did good with them. Limp Swayze. People are really mean today. They all come over and told me I look like Plevin if he share. No lies detected, but still, that's not nice to say. Lefty is a well, for a Chicago Bears fan, he's okay. And Jamie, by the way, you can't participate in the giveaway because you already won. And I know this is enough for you. Well, there won't be any loud noises in this because audio sucks in this case, but don't follow Valhalla because the chickens will roost. Lefty is an acquired taste. I don't know what game it is. You haven't lost me. I'm right here. I never really hear the... Well, I mostly watch it when the goats are sleeping. Maybe that's why I don't hear it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
You represented Kevin Spacey. Yeah, and Jen McCabe. She's mad that I didn't paint her favorite Brutus Baker, so that's why she doesn't want to come back.
While we're waiting, I have a question about Dr. Zizel and your roles.
You sure you don't just hang out scheming with everyone else and then pounce on the goat stream over on... Oh, yeah. How many did you ban last night? We were sitting, I was on with the expert talking about the Plevin disaster. And then all of a sudden, Valhalla was, Brandon is blocking everyone. What the is going on? So Brandon had a little fingering problem. Fat fingers are not always good when you're fingering. Only one? Valhalla seemed like it was more. I hope it was a good one. Yeah, when you're fingering your phone, it's not good to have fat fingers. What's wrong with saying finger? I don't think something is lost in translation. He said orgasms. Hey, Claire DeLune.
No, you wouldn't let anybody talk about COVID. That's his rule. Objection to it.
I think it's just, it's the way they are trained at that DA's office. It must be the way they are trained because it's just like Lally. When is it good to have fat fingers? If you're plugging a hole in a dike. Yeah, it's a factual
Maybe
statement.
seated.
Thank you, Brandon, for clearing these dirty-minded women's.
All right, Mr. Reddington, do you want to call your next witness?
I would, Your Honor, thank you. Dr. Paul Zizel, please.
Another. I thought they said Dr. Tuerk. Oh yeah, of course we're having him first. But he's
Do you
not going to go
solemnly swear that the
through.
testimony you shall give to the court and the
Receiving.
jury in the matter now
Hey,
pending shall
Julio.
be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Who has a top?
Good
Did I
afternoon.
miss something? Was it tip lips? Hey, New Zealand. Good morning.
Good afternoon, Doctor. Tell us your name, spell your last name for the jurors, and keep your voice up so everybody can hear you.
Paul Zizel, Zeizel.
And what do you do for work, sir?
I'm a clinical and forensic psychologist.
And can you tell us your educational background in that degree?
I have a doctorate in clinical psychology from William James College. I have a master's from Harvard University, a master's degree from Boston University, and a bachelor's degree from Queens College.
And can you just briefly share with us your work experience? Have you worked as a forensic consultant?
Yes, I've worked as a forensic psychologist and consultant since 1993.
Who have you been attached to, or who have you worked for as a forensic consultant?
So I have been retained and worked for various district attorneys' offices throughout the Commonwealth, with the exception of Nantucket County. I've worked in every DA's office. I work for defense counsel,
Because it isn't an accident, it's a crime of passion.
who represent respondents. I'm here in the capacity of an expert today to see if I can be helpful to educate the jury for the defense.
And so that's when you say forensic consultant, what does that actually mean?
A forensic consultant in psychology is a psychologist who's trained as a clinical psychologist and works with the integration of legal matters. So whenever there is a individual who may be engaged in perhaps criminal activity, where there's some mental health concerns, someone like me who has a understanding of major mental illness and mental illness can make recommendations pertaining to how an individual may understand the charges against them, if they understand them at all. And that refers to competency, as well as being able to render opinions about other things, such as criminal responsibility, which is often known as not guilty by reason of insanity.
Now, in that capacity, sir, have you also consulted or been a consultant to the Department of Correction as it relates to people that are sexually dangerous persons?
Yes, I probably have done about close to 800 or 900 cases of risk assessment for sexual dangerousness, rendering opinions about who is likely to be dangerous, who's not likely to be dangerous, and what the research variables are that point in either direction.
You're familiar with psychodiagnostic evaluation, sir?
Yes.
And in that capacity, have you had occasion to consult as well with a number of law enforcement agencies?
Yes.
Have you consulted with, for example, the DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency out of Washington, D.C.?
Yes, I'm a psychologist for the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, representing their 19 New England offices.
So, in other words, if somebody was a DEA officer and they had some type of trauma in one of those 19 offices across the country, you would be...
Well, it would be the 19 offices within New England, though I have been on occasion requested to go to other parts of the country when the retained psychologist was not available, so DC and other states. So my role is if a DE agent gets involved in a shooting, they implement immediately the request for that psychologist attached to that region to go and help with the evaluation, do the debriefing for those involved. Conversely, if there's a DE agent who has suicide ideations and may have tried to make efforts to hurt themselves, we also get involved immediately.
All right. Is it fair to say that you have a significant amount of experience in that capacity dealing with trauma?
Yes.
Have you been attached as well to governmental agencies to provide comprehensive psychological support for people in war-torn countries?
Yes.
Where are we going with this? You had me at sexual dangerous. And now we're going to war-torn countries. Can we get back to the first one?
I spent 38 months in Afghanistan from 2007 to November to 2011 in February.
What did you do in Afghanistan?
I was a forensic and clinical psychologist involved in providing care for the State Department employees. I was a State Department vendor, but attached to the military as well. So whenever there would be what's known as a TIC, T-I-C, troops in combat, I would be sent by a helicopter to that region to do as quickly as possible a debriefing of those people involved in that shooting or in those shootings.
And in that capacity as well, it might be a little quicker, fair to say that you also have been deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan, Sudan, Liberia, East Timor, Bosnia, Kosovo, Macedonia, Israel, Colombia, and Haiti.
Not all those places, but some of them, yes.
Okay. And would that be for duty evaluations as well as psychological or stress management?
Yes, so fitness for duty evaluations are often attached to embassies where I've gone to do evaluations for the security personnel, sometimes remotely, sometimes in person, to determine if they are able to continue their jobs, helping high-level diplomats, foreign visitors, secretaries of state, presidents, vice president, congresspeople who may be in those countries doing a visit or speaking with governmental officials.
And finally, sir, directing your attention to, you also have been a consultant to the United Nations, is that correct?
That's correct.
You've also been a consultant to the Department of State, the Department of Defense, and served in various countries without going through them all, like Afghanistan, Kabul, and places like that.
That's correct.
Teaching combat stress control, is that correct?
That's correct.
So it's fair to say that you are familiar with the concept of trauma and its effect on a human body. Is that correct?
I think that's fair to say, yes.
So what exactly is trauma?
So trauma is when an individual is exposed to either a man-made or a horrific event that could be a natural disaster. So a hurricane results with the same outcome as a mass shooting in a mall might be. There are certain physiological responses and psychological responses that people have when they're exposed to very dangerous situations. Everyone reacts slightly differently, but generally speaking, the vast majority of people who are exposed to those types of trauma will respond in the same exact way. The people who don't are generally considered psychopaths, and that's roughly 1 to 3% of the population.
And as it relates to trauma, sir, would you explain to us, please, what stressors are as it relates to what is referred to as the, probably mispronounced this, polyvagal.
Okay, so that's an event when we are exposed to a highly dangerous situation, perceived by us, but often indeed a realistic appraisal of that situation. So imagine being in a situation where you see things that just don't strike you as correct. There's something wrong with what you're observing. It may be hard to articulate it. It may be hard to verbalize it, but something doesn't seem right. You sometimes hear things. It's sensory integration. You will hear things that don't seem right, and sometimes you will smell things that don't seem right. So when that happens, there's a part of the brain that's known as the amygdala.
Can you spell that?
A-M-Y-G-D-A-L-A, amygdala.
What is that? It's part of the brain?
It's a part of the brain. It's the size of a walnut. In Latin, it actually means walnut. I'm sorry, almond in Latin, but it's about the size of a walnut, and it's midbrain, sitting right between the left and the right hemisphere, but it's center brain. That's the part of the brain. It's essential for survival. If you don't have that, you will not survive. And it's essential for survival because it picks up all those cues that could be nonverbal. They could be verbal, but they could be nonverbal, where we make assessments and interpretations of what we might feel are dangerous situations that are impending.
Now, if a person is involved in an event that causes a situation of extreme stress, is there a particular reaction, in general, of the human body defense repertoire?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Sure. So when that event occurs, and we can call that a dangerous event of some sort, an attack, there's a non-cognitive response, no thinking involved, where your body reacts to this danger by increasing your heart rate, your blood pressure, your adrenal medulla glands, which are by your kidneys, start to secrete adrenaline, which gives us high energy for quite some time. It gives us strength, and it gives us the capacity to fight off an invader, whether it's a saber-toothed tiger from 5,000 years ago or some terrorist who's taking over the mall. It also...
I love that we have had the C word, we have had the T word, we have smacks. We've had all the words that this probably going to be a restricted day stream.
Changes our physiological response to certain cues. So one of the unpleasant events that take place for people is that we lose unnecessary mass.
You're grown up. If you want an Easter egg, Baker says you can have an Easter egg.
That we carry with us. So you'll hear stories. People don't like discussing these things, but you will evacuate your bowels without even having an awareness of that. You'll sometimes wet your clothing because you just get rid of unnecessary mass. You also have tunnel vision and what we call auditory exclusion. So you could be in a firefight if you sit next to a person discharging a weapon it will really damage your ear. You'll have tinnitus, your ears will be ringing for a while. But if you have this powerful adrenaline-based response to the amygdala, you often won't hear any noise whatsoever. And your mind, in a way, protects your body, protects your brain. So those are the things that take place. You end up having extreme power. You have auditory exclusion. You don't hear things. Tunnel vision. You don't see things. You are reacting without thinking.
Now, that understanding, sir, would you agree that it would create
Only
a
for long
cascade of
streams.
physiological changes that you talked about, shortness of breath, tremulousness, racing heart, sweating, tunnel vision, things of that nature?
That's correct.
Now, it also would create, I think you mentioned hyperarousal. Is that right?
That's correct.
How about intense fear? Does it generate intense fear as well that would impair cognitive function?
It does create intense fear.
What
It-
happens in that regard, sir, as far as it relates? You ever heard of fight or flight?
It's a fight or flight reaction. Intense fear is essentially
Hey,
when
baby.
the individual is worried about their safety, but it's not a nominal amount of worry. It's excessive, and it's related to the elevation in the belief that their lives are at risk. And there's not much thinking that goes on. It's visceral. You respond automatically. Imagine touching a hot stove top. You don't have to think, this stove is hot, my flesh is burning, it's extremely painful, it smells bad, I don't like this feeling, what should I do? You automatically pull your hand away. You automatically pull your hand away. No thinking involved. It's an automatic response. It's, if you will, Pavlovian. It's one trial learning. You will never touch hot stove tops again because the powerful learning takes place. That's what happens when the amygdala is reacting to dangerous situations where a person's survival and safety is at risk.
And at that stage, with all of these symptomology that you've described, that's when the person's ability to make intelligent or rational decisions would be impaired.
Objection as to form.
Okay, sustain. Rephrase it, please.
Thank you. What effect does this have on a rational person and their thought processes?
Objection as to form.
Okay, sustain. Rephrase it.
So if a person is involved with that type of a number of stressors, it would have an effect, would it not, on their state of mind in decision-making?
Objection, can we approach?
Yes.
Oh. I don't think he's going to get the answers in that he is banking on because they already had this discussion before, and he's trying to go to some crazy place where I think he's going to say he had an adrenaline shock when she punched him in the face, and that's why he got audio, visual constriction and just acted. But the thing with the fight and flight reflex, again, it doesn't stay that long. And when the danger is gone, example, when someone has passed out and they're not punching you in the face again, adrenaline would go down. It's, I don't think this is a good line of questions. I don't think this is the right witness. I don't think so. But what do I know? Nothing. Finally, someone with a better suasion. Yeah, Squabby, you're one of the top scorers
The person
today.
is suffering from or involved with that type of stressor that you've described for us. Does that impact their ability to have rational thinking?
Yes, it does.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Not even that. See, Grandmaster Brandon got a nap, got his phone fingered correctly, and boom.
Dr. Zizel, you're not equating living in Afghanistan to living in Dover, Massachusetts, are you?
I am not.
And in fact, you're not here to provide any information about this particular defendant, correct?
That's correct.
And you're not here to provide any particular information about the facts of this case, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So this is general information regarding how all of our bodies work in times of stress, right?
In times of excessive stress,
In times of
life-threatening
excessive
stress. That's correct.
Okay. And you're talking about war zones.
Not necessarily war zones.
Are war zones included?
War zones are included. Most horrific trauma does not take place in a war zone.
All right.
But it could be a war zone. It could be a hurricane, an earthquake, a car accident. It could be a fight on the street. It could be someone attacking another person.
But our nervous system is designed to react in this way, right?
That's correct.
And you talked about the saber-toothed tiger, right?
I did.
Okay, so this is a long-standing system within our bodies, right?
It's evolutionary psychology.
Did you watch Monty Python's and the Knights of the Round Table? Is that the Quest for the Holy Grail? You know, the one where they're knights. It's going to be when Mrs. Sir Galahad, who is in the convent, it's going to be the same with you in that sorority.
exactly right.
All right. But not everybody reacts in the same way.
There are, that's fair to say, not everyone reacts the same way, but most people, when threatened with their lives, will have a powerful response
When
to survive.
threatened with their life.
Threatened with their lives, or feel that they're threatened with their lives. That's correct.
Okay. So you're talking about life-threatening situations.
That's part of it, of course, yes.
All right. And you're not saying that people lose free will, right?
Well, free will is an interesting construct, because when we
Well, yes
have,
or no? Is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
You're not saying that everyone in a life-threatening situation loses free will.
You know, I'm not saying that.
Okay, thank you. And certainly how people react in threatening situations might be different based on the physical geography or layout of the area, correct?
Hypothetically, I would say so, yes. I mean, I'm not sure what, my understanding of a layout of the area might be different than yours or anyone here in this courtroom. So it's hard for me to answer it. But not everyone looks at a environment and the field that they're on or the building that they're in the same way. People have different historical experiences that make them look at other places differently.
All right, so people perceive things differently. That's a true statement, right?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. And different people might perceive different rooms or different geography differently. That's what you were just talking about, right?
Yes.
But I'm talking about the same individual person might react differently in one physical space versus another physical space, right?
That's fair to say, but with danger, the response generally, no matter where you are, whether you're in the mountains of the Hindu Kush or whether you're on the beach in Chatham, fear will generate the amygdala
He's really, really bad at explaining.
response. So the geographic area probably has less to do than with the threat that person might be facing.
So even if our amygdala is triggered, we're still taking information though, right?
Yes.
And so we're still able to perceive whether we're backed into a corner, right?
Yes.
Or whether we're in an enormous football field, right?
That's fair to say.
We can still perceive those differences.
Yes.
Nothing further.
That's all I have, Doctor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. You may step down.
Thank you. Yep, we'll do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Tuerk. Dr. Tuerk.
See you, Your Honor.
Dr.
You want to call your next witness, Mr.
Yes, I
Whittington?
would. Harry Tuerk, please.
Tuerk. Win the case now, brother. Tell us how she was beating you and you fended for your life. And you just have to do it. Sie waren besetzt für bei dem Teufel.
Oh, no.
Oh, if that's German enough.
All right. Tell us your name for the record and spell your last name, please.
My name is Harry Tuerk, Tuerk.
And how old are you, Harry?
I'm 63 years old.
63?
Yes.
Where were you born?
I was born in East Germany.
And you went to school in East Germany?
I did.
Was that communist East Germany?
That was communist East Germany, a colony of CCCR.
And how long did you live, as we would say, behind the wall in East Germany?
That is correct. I was behind the wall, and I lived there all the way until the wall came down.
And when the wall came down, what, if anything, did you do?
I celebrated.
And how did you do that?
I partied with my family and my friends.
And tell us about your education that you got while you were behind the wall. Was it a good education?
It was a good education because East Germany, and opposite to most East Bloc countries, had more resources, and it was somewhat comparable to Western countries.
What education did you have in East Germany?
I had school, typical school, all the way from first grade to graduating high school.
You graduated high school, what did you do?
After I graduated high school, I went to the military service.
And what kind of military service?
Military service in East Germany was mandatory. 18 months was the minimum we had to serve, and I went to the Air Force.
So you were in the East German Air Force for 18 months?
Correct.
It's still destitute. It's not as built up as Western Germany, but it's come a long, long way since the Mauer fell. I'm 27 years old, but I can still remember seeing the pictures of them standing on top of the wall with sledgehammers.
And when you left the military service after 18 months, sir, what did you then do?
I did apply for medical school, but I was accepted a couple years later, so I went and worked as a nurse assistant in an East Berlin hospital
How long did you do that?
for another 18 months.
So after you worked as a nurse assistant in an Eastern Bloc hospital for 18 months, what did you then do?
I entered medical school in September 1989.
Where was
1983.
He's just building rapport with the jury, telling them his life story and blah, 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 blah. It's not necessary, but it's just to build a rapport.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Where was that?
That was in East Berlin.
And did you complete medical school in East Berlin?
Yes, I attended Humboldt University, prestigious university in Germany at this point in time, and I graduated medical school 6 years later, summa cum laude.
Okay. What did you do when you
Humboldt.
graduated from medical school?
I entered residency,
How long did you have a residency?
5 years,
What was the residency in?
in urology,
Urology?
the disease of the urinary tract.
Urinary tract. What did you then do to advance your career as a physician?
I graduated finished the residency in 1984, and I did 2 years of fellowship.
Where was that?
That was in East Berlin as well, on the Charité University Hospital.
And can you spell that for the stenographer?
Charity is a French word, and Charite with a dash above the E.
Okay. What did you do then?
I became an attending at the Department of Urology at the Charity Hospital.
What does an attending mean? What is that?
A full-fledged physician that was then training residents, doing responsible work on your own, do surgery.
Julie, that's one of the things you'll learn in life. Some people are really good at some parts of life, and they're really sucky at other parts of life. Especially if they are extremely well at some things. I had a friend who married a guy kind of like, I don't think urology was his specialty, but kind of the same. And he was about the weirdest person in the world. And he was one of those guys, he would marry a new nurse every like 5 years or so, because he couldn't shut off. He was always working, and if everything didn't run to his schedule, everything was off. So he was such a weirdo.
On your own. You're basically done with your education and start working as an independent physician.
Were you doing surgery at this point?
I was.
Any particular focus? Was it all on urology?
I was all on urology, but my particular focus was first on transplant, kidney transplant, particularly in children, which I did many hundreds of, and after that in laparoscopic and robotic surgery, which I became a specialist.
What is laparoscopic surgery?
That is summarized as what we call minimal invasive surgery, minimizing trauma to enter the body to actually execute the surgery that you would do with big incisions. For example, I'm sure that many of you are familiar with a laparoscopic cholecystectomy, removing a gallbladder with small incisions. I just didn't remove gallbladders, I removed kidneys, prostate, bladders.
Okay. What did you then do with your career at that point?
I published a lot. I traveled the world as far as giving presentations is concerned. I did a lot of life surgery because I was one of the pioneers of laparoscopic and robotic surgery.
What is robotic surgery?
Robotic surgery is the next step of laparoscopic surgery. Laparoscopic surgery requires that you have still the tools in your hand. You're required to require significant dexterity as a surgeon. They're long instruments. They're introduced to what we call ports. So you make a small incision on the skin. You introduce cannulas if you want. They have valves because you inflate typically the abdomen of the human being when you do laparoscopic surgery with carbon dioxide, with gas. And then you introduce long instruments into the body, a camera into the body, you watch on the screen.
Giggity. Inserting long instruments into the body. Giggity.
And you perform the surgery inside the body, a closed body, while watching on the screen instead of cutting the patient wide open to access the same area. And the robot, the robot now on top of that replaces the limitations of the dexterity of a human hand.
Right.
So the robotic device, commonly known here in the United States and the rest of the world, the Da Vinci robot. Da Vinci robot connects them to these instruments instead of my human hand. And has significantly enhanced dexterity compared to a human hand, while I'll walk over to a console and start manipulating the instrument remotely. I'm not on the body at this point in time.
Thank you,
of
Colin.
the patient. I'm actually sitting in the corner of the OR room on the console. It's a little bit like a flight simulator. I have my screen, three-dimensional screen, which is another advantage of robotic surgery compared to conventional laparoscopic surgery. And I performed then surgery via the robotic device on the patient connected to the instruments with significantly enhanced dexterity, meaning more accuracy.
Now, when did you come to the United States?
First time I came to the United States was 2001.
That when the wall came down?
Sorry, what?
That when the wall came down?
No, the wall came down November 9 to November 10, 1989.
Okay.
We'll never forget that.
Okay, and then you came to the U.S. in 2001?
Yes, I did my education, finished my education, became somewhat known in the field of my expertise, and I was asked or requested by the Norfolk Department of Urology in Virginia for 6 months to come there and to help training some of their physicians
Is this in the robotic surgery?
in laparoscopic and robotic surgery.
All right, so this was pretty much cutting-edge medical treatment, is that correct?
Correct.
And in your career, you stayed in the United States, is that correct?
That was for 6 months, and a visiting professorship to teach, again, and several Virginia urologists to pick up that kind of technology. And then I returned to Germany for 1 year, and then I came back to the United States
All right.
for good.
And did you become an American citizen?
I did.
What year?
I believe it was somewhere around 2007 or 2008.
Did you speak English when you came to the U.S.?
I did not. I grew up in East Germany, which again was kind of a colony of CCCR. Russian was mandatory in addition to German, and I did not speak a word of English when I came to the United States.
How did you learn English?
I taught myself.
Taught yourself. Tell us about your career in the U.S. now at this point. Did you continue on with robotic surgery?
Yes, that's why I ended up in the United States. I was offered several positions in several academic centers to advance the technology of robotic surgery and bring it to the United States.
Are Jamie's dogs in the courtroom?
I ended up at Lay Clinic.
Okay. So at some point, you became the chief of urology at St. E's Hospital?
That is correct.
And chief means you're the head doctor in that particular
Where's Jamie's
department,
dogs?
Is that correct?
Correct.
At some point, you were living in the town of Dover, right?
I'm pretty much the whole time.
The whole time.
Once I moved to the United States in 2003, my wife at that time, and
Krista?
that was Krista, and I moved to Dover and started a family.
Now, how long did you live with Krista in Dover?
15 years.
And you obviously got divorced from Krista.
Yes, unfortunately.
You continued on with your job, if you will, with the robotic surgery.
Yes.
Fair to say that you pretty much reached the pinnacle, if you will, of your career at that point, right?
No, it's fair to say, yes.
You had a pretty good reputation among other doctors and physicians nationwide, if not international, right?
Correct.
And that would be in robotic surgery.
Correct.
At some point, did you buy the property in Dover? When did you buy that house?
You're referring to 29 Valley Road?
Yes, I'm sorry, 29 Valley Road.
I lived before in Dover, Belden Road, and unfortunately, our relationship ended in a divorce. I loved my children, and I didn't want to move out of the town. I wanted to stay close.
Did you stay in Dover?
Yes,
And that would be the Valley Road house.
correct. I bought the Valley Road house to be around Taylor and Nick.
When did you move into the Valley Road house? Did you buy it new, or was it somebody else's?
It was a new construction, and I bought the house and moved in August 2017. Sorry, 17.
Now, when you were living in August of 2017, you're living in this brand-new house in Dover, right?
Yes,
It's a beautiful house, right?
beautiful house. Yes,
Love the neighborhood,
yes,
nice people,
yes.
good friends.
Yeah,
Working in Boston as the chief of urology.
correct.
What did you do for entertainment? What did you do for excitement?
A lot of things. Being a surgeon is a pretty stressful job, and unwinding was important.
What did you do?
I did a lot of sports. I worked out. I socialized. I loved riding my motorcycles.
You had motorcycles?
Yeah,
Harley Davidson?
Big fan of Harley Davidson.
And in that regard, sir, as a big fan of Harley Davidson, would you agree with me that it became almost your symbol you wouldn't wear the headgear the doctors wear. You would wear the Harley-Davidson leather cap with the logo on it, right?
Yes.
Now, I'm approaching you with a photograph. What is that photograph? Can you tell us?
That's actually taken in my OR, in my operating room, that was designed and created at St. Elizabeth's when I joined that facility. I'm sitting in the operating room. You're seeing me in scrubs. And you see actually a piece of the Da Vinci robot that I used 4 days a week, 2 to 3 cases a day. And I think I was interviewed. Sorry?
2 to 3 operations a day?
Yes, I had a very high volume on surgeries, 2 to 3 surgeries a day, 4 days a week.
Now, for St. Elizabeth's Hospital, is it fair to say that St. E's capitalized as much as they could with your reputation as a surgeon?
That is correct.
Handing you an item that has been already marked as an exhibit. Can't see it. Oh, it's E for ID. What is that? And hold this so the jurors down here can see it as well.
So I worked at Lay Clinic, as I said.
So, yes, that's.
Sorry. I worked at Lay Clinic for about 5-6 years, and then I was approached by the CEO of Steward Healthcare, and they thought that I would be a high-profile surgeon they wanted to acquire, and they did some advertisement for my arrival at St. Elizabeth's with that billboard that was over Fenway Park.
This is the billboard itself.
That is the photograph of the billboard that was right hanging over Fenway Park.
And what year was that, sir?
That was 2017.
So in 2000.
No, sorry, 2007. Sorry, 2007.
How long did you live in the Valley Road house?
From 2017 to 2020.
All right, so let's focus on the date, because you've said 17 and 7.
I know, I'm sorry.
That's okay. 17?
2017, August 2017 until May 2020.
Yes. And during that period of time, 2017, 2018, fair to say that you continued on in your position with the hospital as the chief of urology.
Correct.
You continued on living life large in your house in Dover with your motorcycles and whatever else you did for recreation, correct?
And took care of my children, yes.
And then at some point, you met Kathleen McLean.
That is correct.
When was that?
That was in November of 2017.
Tell us about that. How'd you meet her?
Dating website.
And did you go on dates?
Yes, we did.
And at some point, did you end up, have in mind, it's November of 2017 that you met her, right?
Correct.
If you could, pardon me, Your Honor, just hold that out. Excuse me, make sure everybody can see it. November of 2017, you met Ms. McLean, yes?
Correct.
March of 2018, what happened then?
She moved into my house, although it was April.
It was April.
It was middle of April.
So it was about 5 months later.
Correct.
And she moved into your house 5 months later, but you had lived together prior to that? No.
No.
You lived together after that for 2 years.
Correct.
And after the 2 years, in December of 2019, what happened then?
Are you talking about the marriage?
Yeah,
Yeah, we got married.
okay. And you got married in December of 2019, right?
Yes.
So she moves in with her 3 children into your home in March of 18, and then in December of 19, she ends up marrying you in Las Vegas. Is that correct?
Yes, I went to Las Vegas for a medical conference, and she asked to accompany me.
Now, who obtained the marriage license?
Katie,
How did she do that?
online.
Why were you going to Las Vegas in December of 2019?
I attended the World Congress of Anti-Aging Medicine. That was the purpose of going to Las Vegas.
Was that at the Bellagio Hotel?
That was at the Bellagio Hotel.
And when you went to the Bellagio Hotel, tell us about the marriage. Did she tell you that she had a license or something, or how did that happen?
No, I had no idea.
What did you do?
So the medical conference, the World Congress of Anti-Aging Medicine, was for about 4 days, I believe. And on the second day, after the seminars and the lectures were over, we took the Jeep Wrangler that I rented and drove around the strip, the main strip in Las Vegas. And we stopped at a bar.
Can't you just get a license at the chapel? I don't know.
And we drove for a while around just to look at the Las Vegas city, which is a pretty impressive location. And then at some point in time, we stopped and we walked into a bar.
Did you drink in the bar?
Yes, quite a lot. That was a typical bar for Las Vegas, big horseshoe-shaped bar with the whole front open to the main strip. And I don't remember much, but I do remember we were sitting there and I met a cowboy and we started drinking. And she was sitting on the other side of the cowboy. And I had several martinis. She had some, Katie had some Cosmos. And then all.
I don't know how you get married in America. In Denmark, it involves a small barnyard animal, a barrel, a couple of sticks, and that's how we fix that problem. Just to make sure Satan stays out of the marriage. And again, what does this have to do with anything?
All I remember is that I was talking to a woman hanging out of a window.
So would that be when you got married?
That's what I was told the next morning.
And where you got married, was that the Elvis Chapel in Las Vegas?
Yeah, the next day I drove one more time by to see what really.
Urologist and his wife walked into a bar and the bartender said, "Why the slow stream?"
happened.
That's a pee joke.
And it was a drive-in facility where you drive in, you lower your window, a person comes out of the window and marries you.
So the person came out of the window.
I mean, leaning out of the window, yes.
You're in the rental car, right?
Yes, we were in the Jeep, I believe.
Isn't that how it happens to most of us?
And did somebody marry you, like a minister or a priest or anybody?
I don't really remember. I only remember it was a woman. That's the only thing I remember that talked to us. And the next morning I was told I was married.
All right. Now,
Yeah. The chapel is a drive-through chapel. If you want to see how it is, go back and see when Triple H and Stephanie McMahon got married on an episode of Raw. I believe it's the same chapel.
I'm approaching you with what has not yet been marked for identification. Can you identify?
You were probably
this
more drunk than he
photograph,
was.
sir?
No, we didn't go there.
You didn't go there. Okay. How
Didn't you
about
prep this?
this?
Oh,
That sounds looks familiar.
Okay.
why didn't you prep
When
him?
you had occasion to get married, do you recall that you actually went into what's called the Elvis Chapel?
No, we didn't go in. Again, we were in the car. I never remember that I actually got out of the car. I got married in the car.
You got married in the car?
In the car. That's what a drive-through chapel is doing. You're not getting out. It's kind of like you're buying a burger.
Okay. Is this indicative of the guy hanging out the window?
if it was marriage by ambush, couldn't he just get it annulled? How long does he have to wait to get it annulled? Because I know Brittany got it annulled after, was it 18 hours? Isn't it something like that? Seated jurors are now 12, although they added 3 today. 1 was let go for personal reasons. 4 more to go. No, they were drinking martinis, and I don't know what the other one was. Meeting on website, Marion in Vegas, straight out of Britney Spears playback for gold diggers. I'm not sure Britney Spears was a gold digger. It was the guy she married.
That's exactly how that looked like, except the guy was a woman.
Guy was a woman, but that basically is the drive-through wedding chapel that you went to, is that correct?
I'm not sure if it was exactly this one, but it is exactly how it looked. We drove into that area. Somebody was leaning out the window and talking to us.
All right. And after the wedding, would you agree, sir, that documentation was obtained to show that you in fact were married in Las Vegas? Did you have a copy of your marriage license?
At some point in time, I did.
Where did that come from?
That came from Las Vegas.
After you went through the drive-through and after you got married, you went back to Massachusetts?
Yes, once the medical conference was over, we flew back.
Continue with your job.
Correct.
Approaching you with the document, sir. Approaching you with the document, sir. Do you know what that is?
State of Nevada, marriage certificate.
Right off of that, Ron.
No objection.
Okay, maybe admitted.
Exhibit 337.
Now, let's fast forward, if you will, to after you were married, did she then move? She was already living with you with her 3 children, is that correct?
Yeah, because they're so drunk he can't remember getting married, but he's driving a rental. Don't drink and drive, people.
Yes, she was living in my house for quite some time at that point in time. With her 3 children, correct.
So in December of 19, December 14th, Merry Christmas, all that, you get married, right?
I get married by surprise.
Yes. January 31st, about 5 weeks later, is when you met with Attorney Lascivita, is that correct?
Yes.
Why did you meet with Attorney Lascivita?
Because at that point in time, and not just since December, it was already before that, it became clear that that relationship is not going in the direction that we were hoping. Both were hoping.
That was your state of mind at that point, correct?
I wanted a divorce.
All right, and then you went to see Attorney Lascivita.
Correct.
And did she send you something?
She sent me an email.
And when she sent you the email, you recall, as she testified, the date of the email confirming that you met with her, that you were going to get the marriage certificate, and that you were going to divorce Kathleen McLean. Do you know when that letter was, email?
That was on the 31st of January.
And did you read that?
No, he saved hundreds of lives. He only took 1. It's a fight and flight reaction because your amygdala gets overwhelmed and you get a need to hide things in a pond.
Yourself.
Yes.
What, if any, involvement did Kathleen McLean have with your communications with Attorney Lascivita?
She did not know.
At some point, did she, to your knowledge, find out?
She did.
How?
She went on my phone while I was sleeping,
And what did she do?
and she looked around and found my email communication with Attorney La Civita.
As a result of that, what, if anything, happened between you and Kathleen McLean?
As a result of that, she went to Dover Police and filed for a restraining order.
Did she get a restraining order?
She got a restraining order.
Is that when the police officer served you with it, testified that you were in your driveway, you were cooperative with the police, but you had your hands on your legs and you're asking? Do you recall the police officer serving you with the warrant?
Yes.
What do you call it, the restraining order?
Yes, I do recall that. It
Okay,
was,
the answer is yes.
yes,
And did you vacate your home?
I had to.
Where did you go?
First, I didn't know. I was calling some friends and I ended up with an acquaintance in Dover.
That'd be Charlie Lax?
That would be Charlie Lax.
How long did you stay with Charlie Lax?
Approximately 3 weeks.
And at some point, you had to leave Charlie's home?
Yeah, again, sometimes these smart people say some really dumb thing. You wanted out of the marriage, but it's going to be a big factor that you had sex with her. Are you going to say she was a Jezebel and lured you into the sheets? You're a 63-year-old man. You should be able to say, Nein, danke, Fraulein.
Yes.
Where did you go?
Again, scrambled and called several friends or acquaintances, and I finally got a positive answer from Richie Kovitz.
And that would be the gentleman that testified here yesterday, right?
That is correct.
And Richie and his fiancee or girlfriend, Carla, allowed you to come into where they lived, right?
Very grateful that they let me come to their apartment because otherwise I
Was
wouldn't
it an
have.
apartment or a condo?
It was a kind of a small condo.
And you stayed there for how long?
I stayed there for approximately 5 weeks.
During that 5 weeks, did you stay continuously there, or did you leave to go anywhere?
I left in the middle of March to travel to Germany.
Why did you travel to Germany?
I had a consultant contract with the robotic company by the name of Avatera in Jena, which is a German town in the southern part of eastern Germany. And I wanted to start my job as a
Hey, I could have done it in 30 minutes. You just have to move faster.
consultant to develop a new robotic surgical device.
So now, would you agree that you went to Germany and you spoke to a gentleman by the name of Mr. Kapka, who was the managing director of Avatera Medicals, A-V-A-T-E-R-A Medical in Jena, J-E-N-A, Germany?
Yeah, it's pronounced Jena.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Jenna is in Israel, right?
This was so that you could have a job dealing
Correct.
with robotic surgery and mobile device management, correct?
Correct.
How long were you in Germany for?
I was there for approximately a week.
And did you come back to the U.S.?
I had to.
Why?
COVID hit and Germany responded just as the United States, a complete lockdown. The company was closed. And also President Trump at that time asked for all U.S. residents to return to America.
And you did so.
I immediately, after the company closed down and my job was not performable at this point in time, drove to Frankfurt Main, and took basically the last flight that was available to America.
When you got back to the States, sir, where did you stay?
When I came back, I stayed in Norwood, in a hotel in Norwood. That was my only option at this point in time.
And at some point,
Well, they had their own KGB would only be part of it, but they had their own. What was the Secret Service in East Germany? Oh, I can't remember the stats, but there were so many informants working because everyone was snitching on each other to not get snitched on. It was crazy. Yeah, Stasi. Stasi was the name of the East German secret police, and they had so many secret informers because everyone was snitching. Kids were snitching on their parents. Neighbors were snitching on each other. everyone was snitching. It was a horrible society to live in, because if you said your kid said something in school, your parents could be taken away and being questioned by the Stasi, and if you get a little squeamish looking at waterboarding and enhanced interrogation, you should go back and listen to some of the stories from people who was questioned by the KGB and the Stasi. They were a fun bunch and would light a party on fire.
Thanks, sir. This is when the pandemic struck, is that right?
That was the high point of the start of the pandemic, where we had no idea what is going on.
Did you ask people, for example, did you have occasion to ask Mr. Kovitz if you could
Yeah, Stasi, not Stasi.
go back and live with him?
As soon as I arrived in Newark,
What's your answer, yes or no?
yes,
All right, now, what did you say?
as soon as I arrived in Newark,
Anything that could make your life better or keep you out of the eyes of anything. If someone had, remember, it was a communistic society, so what you had, you got from the state. So if you had an extra pair of cowboy pants that you might have gotten because you had some connections to West Germany, or you said, well, maybe communism isn't the best way of doing government, someone could think, oh, maybe I can get an extra pack of cigarettes. Let me go snitch on that guy in number 2. And it was a very fear-based society. It's people today who have that notion that communism was such a great time, and because the state provided for you and you could have a car, you had an apartment, you have never seen what cars and what apartments they lived in. It sounds really good until you figure out, well, there's a very limited supply and everything is run by a very dictatorial, oppressive regime. I was in Prague in 91, so 2 years after the wall went down, and just driving down through East Germany, that's why I love all these young idealistic people who think, oh, if we just turn socialist, we'll save the planet. It was the most dirty place I've ever been in my life. They had entire cities that was just big industrial zones, and it was black with soot. It was horrible. You wouldn't believe it if you didn't see it. We saw stuff on TV. It had nothing to do with what reality looked like. And you can't fathom how bad it was. America talks a lot about McCarthyism and the Red Scare. This was everyone. Teachers would snitch on parents if the kids said something. Everyone had to join these kind of paramilitary, kind of like the Boy Scouts, but it was run by the school or by the state, and they were indoctrinated, and it was, yeah, go back and look how it was and all the stories that came out after, and it wasn't a fun time. It wasn't a fun society to live in. So but again, I know it was the wrong kind they used back then. This time we'll make it right.
New Jersey, coming from Frankfurt, I called Richie and said, hey, listen, I had to come back. Can I come back to your condo?
What did he indicate to you?
And he said, sorry, Harry, I can't take you in.
Did he say why?
I didn't see any supermodels in Prague, but we did empty the hotel bar every night. So I'm pretty proud of myself. I was 14.
He said, yes, his condo board
All right.
forbid to have anybody coming in.
What did you do then?
I stayed at the hotel at that point in time.
And that would be in Norwood?
That would be in
Ukrainian girls, I would say.
Norwood on Route 1.
What was your state of mind about the pandemic, sir?
I was scared.
Why?
I started to the news about thousands of people dying every day started to get to me, and I didn't feel safe in the hotel without my own personal space. I believed I potentially belonged to the risk population of being 58 years old and not being safe, not being exposed to the environment.
What about that?
Sorry, what?
What did you do about that?
Oh,
Go somewhere?
I called around, I called many friends. At least I thought they were friends at that time, and asked if anybody has a couch, has a little room where I could stay. They said, oh no, until Mr. Guyon, another friend of mine, said, you know what, I have a camper, a trailer down in Florida.
So as a result of Mr. Guyon letting you stay in his camper, was it one of those big fancy ones, that's almost like a mobile home, or was it like a trailer?
It was kind of more like a trailer. It was not fancy and wasn't big,
Okay.
but it was a personal space, and that was important to me.
You were thankful for that?
I was very thankful that I had a place where I could actually stay myself and lock myself
So you did
down.
go to Florida?
I drive
How
to.
long did you stay in Florida?
I drove to Florida and stayed there for 6 or 7 weeks.
What's the time frame that we're talking about now?
I drove down to Florida on the end of March and came back on the 7th of May.
And during this period of time, you had engaged, after Attorney Lasiviter, who sent you the letter that Ms. McLean saw, you engaged Attorney Hoffman, is that correct?
Yes,
And Attorney Hoffman was your attorney representing you in discussions and negotiations trying to get this divorce settled during that period of time, is that right?
that is correct.
Now, when in time frame did you come back up to Massachusetts?
I came back to Massachusetts on May 7th.
Prior to May 7th, before May 7th, while you were in Florida, did you have any contact with Ms. McLean at all?
Not directly.
How about indirectly?
Yes,
How?
Kurt Pfannenstiel.
Kurt Pfannenstiel. Now, who
Kurt Pfannenstiel, who is the neighbor who got cake in the garage.
is Kurt Pfannenstiel?
He was a friend.
And Mr. Pfannenstiel helped you out during this negotiation phase, sir?
He communicated in between us.
How did he do that? Did he call you, or what did he do?
He called me,
On a phone?
correct.
And when was this?
It started mid of April.
Did you talk to Kurt, yes or no?
Yes,
As a result of talking to Kurt, did he then hand the phone to somebody else?
yes, he did.
Who?
Katie.
What did Katie say to you?
Katie said to me, Harry, come back home. I still love you.
Did you continue to stay in Florida, or did you make arrangements to come back home?
I stayed at that time still in Florida
When did you come back home?
on May 7th.
Where did you go to stay?
I went to Dedham,
That'd be the hotel.
but not by myself. Not by myself. Yeah,
It's the hotel that we all went to when we took a view, is that correct?
correct,
The Residence Inn.
correct.
Now, when you went to the Residence Inn, you took out, you signed the paperwork, it was in your name, right?
Yes,
You also said that you wanted Katie to have the key, is that right?
yes.
Did she go into that room with you, or two of you together?
She picked me up in New York.
Now, who was with her when she picked you up in New York?
Her ex-husband, Stephen Roca,
That's the guy with the beard, right?
correct.
Now, what was your state of mind when you saw Mr. Roca driving the car when they picked you up in New York?
I was,
Objection.
Rephrase it, please, sustained.
You had seen Mr. Roca before that day, correct?
yes,
You had seen Mr. Roca picking up his children to visit with them prior to that, right?
Objection.
Overall.
yes,
And where did Mr. Roca park his car when he'd pick up his kids?
on the street.
And yes or no, did you have conversations with Kathleen McLean about Mr. Roca, yes or no?
Many.
And how would you describe the relationship between Kathleen McLean and Mr. Roca while you were married to her observing him picking up his children.
Objection.
Sustained in that form.
So you were surprised that Mr. Roca was with her?
Correct.
Mr. Roca drove the car.
Yes.
Why could you not drive a car?
I had problems with my back and my legs at this point in time.
What kind of problems?
I felt numbness and muscle weakness because of my back injuries.
How'd you get back injuries?
That's an occupational hazard of being a surgeon.
Like being a nurse too, bending over and
Correct.
checking people.
Bending over for hours at a time, you inadvertently will have disc prolapses, and that's what happened to me.
So during this period of time, can you tell the jury, what was your relationship with Ms. McLean? Did she allow you back into your home?
I stayed for a couple of days at the hotel, and on Sunday, May 10th, I went back to the Dover home.
And did she invite you back?
Yes, she asked me to come home.
Did you intentionally violate a restraining order and go in that house?
The restraining order was vacated at that time in time.
So she vacated the restraining order
Correct,
and then invited you into the house?
correct,
She's there with her 3 kids.
correct.
During that period of time, would you agree, sir, that you were amorous, loving, having sex, that type of stuff?
Yes, I was very grateful that I could come back home to shelter myself because the camper was sold and I had to leave Florida because I did not have a shelter down there anymore. So I was loving, kind, and accommodating, very accommodating, and
I don't hear an
expressed
accent.
Was one
I
of
love
the
to.
things that was requested of you that you do something with the house?
Yes,
What was that?
she asked me to put her name on the deed.
Did you do that?
I did.
Why did you do that? I mean,
Hey, Brandy.
this house is worth a couple.
Are we done with jury selection today? 3 more jurors, but only 2 total because 1 was sent home, I think it was. And I hope your new endeavor is better than expected and the greatest ever. You deserve all the successes.
$1 million. Why did you?
Opening on Tuesday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and how are we going to do over Easter? Well, let's get the party started. Did you hit the bar last night after? She's a married woman now. She doesn't go out drinking. Oh, AJ is doing the opening. Interesting. She's married expert. Come along now.
Do that.
If I wouldn't have done it, I wouldn't have been able to come home.
So you signed a deed transferring interest to her, right?
Correct.
Now, you heard the testimony of Attorney Keighton. You know Mr. Keighton, right?
Yes.
You heard the testimony?
I knew of him. I didn't know him well. I knew of him.
Okay. And you knew that there was an issue about her being on the deed, and if you die, that she'd end up getting everything, right?
Correct.
Did you also sign a postnuptial agreement?
That was part of it that I had to sign to be allowed to come back home.
Did you sign that?
I did.
What were the terms that did you have to pay any money on that?
Yes.
Okay. And now you then moved back into the house, right?
On the evening of May 10th, I moved permanently back in the house.
And how are things working between the two of you?
It started off very well. We really tried to be good to each other and loving and kind, and we spent a lot of time together, had a lot of sex. We really tried to be good to each other and loving and kind, and we spent a lot of time together, had a lot of sex.
When you say you had a lot of sex, I don't know how to be gracious about this. Was there a number of times that she would request or demand sex from you?
Excuse me?
Were there a number of times that she would request or demand sex from you?
Yes.
Okay. For example, did she
Yeah, this case is a little interesting. Apparently, she was also giving cake to another guy in the garage, which I don't know what means, but Danny T says she knows.
send you text messages saying, let's fuck at 10:15?
Yes.
Oh,
Were there a number of text messages like that?
There were many of them.
Would you come home and then go to the bedroom and have sex with her?
I would come home often, and she asked me to go upstairs.
Did you do that during that period of time up until May 15th?
It started already.
He went on the stand 50 minutes ago, but it didn't get wild until now. Well, for those of you who came in a little late, it started out talking about his childhood in Eastern Europe, Eastern Germany, but it was when it was occupied by the Ruskies. And he came to the States in 2000, got married to a woman, then moved to Dover, I think is the place he's living, where he met the victim a few years later, and they were kind of living together. And then at a conference in Las Vegas, kind of like Brandy did, this woman got him drunk and lured him into a drive-through wedding place and got married. And then he instantly wanted to get divorced again. He went to Germany. The big lockdowns happened. He came back, and then she's turned into a sexual dynamo and said, "Hey, brother, 10:15. I'm thinking it has to do with certain blue pills that need to have a little time to work. That's why she said, you better pop it before you drive home."
In a Dedham hotel. As soon as we came back, she wanted sex.
And then in the Denver hotel, then you went to the house in Dover, and it continued.
That's correct.
And you felt that things were going to hopefully be okay.
I had really high hopes that things would work out.
All right. After she vacated the restraining order and got you back into the house, do you recall the evening of the, I believe the 15th of May, 2020?
I think you mean May 14th.
The 14th, I'm sorry, it's been a long day.
The day was beautiful, was nice. I worked in the yard. Actually, with Sam.
By alcohol poisoning. And can you tell the jury, what was your relationship with Ms. McLean?
Yes,
Were there a number of text messages you told?
Katie was always jealous of her.
Basement and the movie.
It was beautiful, was nice. I worked in the yard. Actually, with Sam and Grace together, we cut out grass that was yellow from Cooper and
What's
replaced
Cooper?
it. Cooper is our dog.
What kind of dog?
He's a yellow lab. So we cut out grass. I went before to Home Depot and bought sod and replaced the yellow spots in the backyard with new sod. And in the afternoon, I took a break and Katie started making martinis.
Did you start drinking?
Yes, I
Both
was.
of you?
Sorry?
Both of you?
Yes, she drank Cosmo and I drank martinis.
Did you then, the two of you and the children, engage in any activities?
Yes, after 2 or 3 martinis, we had dinner as a family in the kitchen on the family table, which was nice. And after that, Katie.
No, he doesn't have any money. He defrauded Medicaid for $150K.
Sam, Grace, and I played a board game by the name of Game of Life.
And
Isn't it ironic? Don't you think?
what time did you finish playing the board game? Did the kids then go somewhere after playing the board game?
We played after dinner for probably 2 hours, I kind of estimate, and we finished probably around somewhat 9 p.m. And then Sam and Grace went upstairs to their rooms, and Katie and I continued to have some drinks and went to the family room watching TV.
Okay. Now, have in mind that she was living with you for 2 years, then you guys got married for about 5 weeks. All of that period of time, she had her 3 children living in the house. Did you make improvements to the house? Just
A lot.
like what?
I built a pool in the backyard because she wanted a pool. I finished the whole backyard with walls, the cabana, fireplace, because she wanted to have parties in there. She was a very social person, and she wanted to have parties in the backyard, so we built that for about...
Yeah, he defrauded Medicaid. Apparently, he was supposed to buy some machinery that he never bought, and he settled. I think he had to pay back $150,000.
built that for about $250,000.
Did you also have the gym in the basement and the movie theater?
Well, we finished the basement because Katie asked me to have an office in the basement for her work. And I said, okay, I'm going to build you an office and let's finish the rest of the basement as well.
So on that evening that we're talking about now, after the board games and after the kids went downstairs to do whatever they're going to do in the movie theater and whatnot, where did you and Katie then go?
After we watched TV or
Yeah,
after the game?
And after the kids went downstairs.
Excuse me, can you repeat again?
After the game.
After the game, we went to the family room and watched TV.
Right. How long did you watch TV?
Approximately 2 hours
Where did you go?
in the bedroom.
When you got up to the bedroom, what were you wearing? If you remember.
Well, nothing when I came into the bedroom, other than a happy smile and a small little sombrero.
Don't remember, T-shirt and jeans probably.
What, if anything, did you and Katie do in the bedroom?
She wanted sex.
You have sex.
We did have sex.
Now, you've seen a spot of blood on the bed, a round spot of blood on the bed. Do you know where that came from?
Yes,
Where?
she had a period.
And was that
I told you he was riding the red roller coaster, and you girls said I was icky. He was riding the red roller coaster. When it comes to weird sexual things, trust the baker.
something that you had seen before the 15th?
Yes, that actually happened on May 10th when I came home from the hotel.
Okay. Tell us about that night after you had sex. Everything going along well?
It has to do with there's a big stain on the bed. So,
That so far is, went well. Then we were laying after sex in the bed. She was reading something and I was looking on my phone.
What happened then?
I told her that I saw a text from Kate Kelly.
Who's Kate Kelly?
Kate Kelly is an old friend of mine. I knew Kate Kelly since over 15 years. And
What did she say when you told her?
Katie was always jealous of her.
What did she say?
And I said to Katie, even Kate Kelly tells us good luck with our reconciliation.
What happened then?
She got extremely angry.
What did she do?
She demanded
I just like being right, and now I can go in Discord and yell at Sue.
the phone from me.
Did you give her the phone?
She said, give me the phone, I need to see the texts. And I said to her, please don't do it. Because there were all the text messages from before.
Months before.
Yeah, during their separation months when Kate Kelly was communicating with me and trying to help me going through that time. And there were certainly some critical words written about her. And I told Katie, please don't look at that. That's old stuff. You proposed clean slate.
Did she look at it?
She did. And
Listen to my questions.
Yes.
When she looked at it,
she
what
did.
happened?
She demanded the phone and I gave it to her.
She proceeds to look at the phone.
She did.
The Kate Kelly text.
Correct.
What did she then do?
She got even more angrier.
Did she do anything at that point?
She screamed.
At you?
Yes.
Where were you when this was going on?
The bed.
Did you have, by the way, alcohol? Were you guys?
He's a 63-year-old man, probably popping a few fun pills. She was an attractive, young 40-something lady with a couple of D enhancements. He was having the time of his life. And, well, I would never, but I know some weirdos in chat who would say, oh my. Because for me, it's not about having smacks, it's about making love.
Still drinking?
Oh, I started drinking, or we continued drinking again after the day game, and we continued drinking in the bedroom, yes.
And did you have, were you drinking with a glass in your hand while you were talking to her after you guys?
We both had glasses in our hands, correct?
And at some point, while she's yelling at you, what happened then?
Well, I tried to calm her down and said, please, Katie, stop. Please, please, Katie, please stop. And she was in the bed, and I kind of walked around and tried to calm her down, and I went on my knees and begged her to stop, please.
You went on your knees,
I went on my knees.
and you begged her to stop?
Yes.
And what did she say?
I said, fuck you.
What happened then?
She hit me.
With what?
It's a glass.
Did you know that? Did she hit you with the glass?
Yes,
And where did she hit you with the glass?
right on my head.
When she hit you with the glass, did you get cut?
Yes, I bled.
I'm showing you what has been marked as Exhibit 294. We hold that up for the jury and point out exactly where the injury is to your head in that photograph, sir.
Right here is the cut.
Now, show all of us down here too, please. All right? So that would be the right side of your head,
Yes,
right? Right here.
right here.
Now, when she struck you with the glass, did the glass do anything?
It broke.
And where were you when the glass broke?
I was on the floor,
What was your state of
kneeling.
mind at that point?
I was scared to hell.
What did you do as a result of getting struck with the glass causing you to bleed while you were on the floor? What did you do then?
I snapped. I kind of blacked out.
What did you do?
I grabbed her
Where?
on the neck.
How? Did you say anything?
Oh,
What did she do?
she just flailed around, and then she kind of flailed around and fell. We fell on the floor together. I think because that's when I came out of my blackout. That's where we were on the
What
floor.
happened then?
She was not responsive. She was, passed out, and I asked her, Katie, come on.
Yeah, we are sped up to 125 because before he was a little slow.
Please, Katie, wake up. Please, Katie, wake up.
Did you realize she wasn't waking up?
She didn't wake up.
What did you then do, sir?
Lifted her up and put her on the bed.
What did you then do?
Then we comfortable, and then I tried some CPR on her.
You know how I know that's bullshit? First thing you learn if you're trying to do CPR is not do it on a bouncy bed. It's doing it on a flat, stable surface because you're going to apply a lot of pressure to the chest cavity, which is kind of spongy because you have these rib cages. And the lovely Katie also had a pair of fun bags installed. So you would never try CPR on her on the bed. You go on the floor, apply pressure.
Did that help?
It didn't work.
What happened then?
I was just sitting there and crying.
What happened then?
I panicked.
What do you mean you panicked? What did you do?
I tried to figure out what to do about that situation.
What does that mean? What did you want to do?
I wanted to kill myself.
What happened then?
I decided that I needed to put her somewhere else.
Why?
One of the main thoughts that I do remember is that I can't have her children find her.
So what did you do?
I carried her out of the house,
Where did you put her?
put her in the car,
Where did you go?
put her on the passenger seat of the Jeep, and I
Where did you go?
drove to the pond.
Is that the pond that's next to the house where the real estate guy testified here a couple of days ago that she wanted to buy a house, but it wasn't big enough to put a pool, but she wanted you to look at a house?
That's correct.
Objection.
Sustained in that form.
Is that the house? Did you go look at a house with her?
We looked at that house 2 years prior, yes.
Right, and she went by herself first,
Yes.
and then that brought you?
Then she said,
That's a form.
Okay, so did you?
So now they looked at a house 2 years before, and that's why he chose that. Yeah, so I hit her body. This absolutely doesn't line up with what the shrink said was happening. Yeah, the initial attack could have happened in I'm dazed out of my mind. I blacked out. But again, at least 4 to 5 minutes. And he remembers everything when he came out of his daze. She was flailing around, but he had no defensive wounds or wounds after her defending herself. She had no attempts to try and scrape his hand off. And a professional doctor who saved hundreds of lives, who's an expert. And I know, well, he was a urologist. That's not normally where... no, you're not going to do a crass joke about blowing life into someone. That's not normally where you do CPR, but he would have basic CPR training. And the first thing he does is put her on a bed so he can't do CPR and claim he does CPR. We heard no evidence of cracks to her sternum or her rib cage, which would have occurred if a real doctor, because a real doctor during his tenure or residency has been somewhere, at least seen someone do CPR on a real person. He shouldn't have taken the stand.
Did you go look at the house?
So she asked me to look at the house with her.
Did you?
Yes,
All right. Is that the pond that you went to?
yes.
What did you do when you got to the pond with the Wrangler and with Kate?
I put her in the water.
When you put her in the water, did you take her top off?
No, I did not.
What happened to the top?
I have no idea.
Did you see photographs that show that it was snagged on a branch by the edge of the pond?
You told me I didn't look at that photograph.
Look at it.
No.
Okay. At some point, did you realize that she was floating?
Yeah, kind of was surprised that
What
she
did you
was.
do as a result of that?
I walked through the yard and tried to look for something that made.
I think he talks way too fast and he rushes him. I don't think it's a good look. And it seems like he didn't really, that picture he put up of the wedding chap was the wrong one. That's,
Bring her down.
What were you wearing for footwear?
I was wearing flip-flops,
What were you wearing for clothes?
boxers.
Boxer shorts?
Yes,
Why were you wearing boxer shorts?
because that's all I had on after we had sex.
Found some rocks?
I stumbled through that yard and looked for something heavier, and I came across dead rocks, yes.
That's what you used to weight it down.
Well, I ultimately used dead rocks, yes.
And where did you go?
I drove to the hotel.
Okay,
Well,
after you drove to
I
the...
tried to drive to the hotel, yeah.
well, I think a lot of people mistake what we learn in the military. I saw someone who was simping over some girl who's an Air Force pilot saying, oh, she could beat me up with all her military training. My only self-defense training in the military was, if someone stands like this with a plastic rifle, you can do this. And I never met anyone standing with a plastic rifle like this that I could disarm. I just had to go back to the good old days on the street.
Yes. Sorry,
Back
what?
to going to the hotel. Before going to the hotel, did you go anywhere else?
I realized I forgot my phone, and I wanted to say goodbye to some friends, and I went back to the house and get my phone.
So you went back to the house with your sandals and your underwear.
Pixie, they had smexy time. He was riding the red roller coaster, and then he had to unalive her after.
And you walked back into the house, sir.
Yes, and that time I also put clothes back on, yes.
Now, when you were walking into the house, strike that, when you were leaving the house, if at all you noticed anything, did you notice any marks on the floor?
Oh, I carried her in front of me. I didn't see anything.
All right, when you went back to the house, did you have occasion to see if there's any marks left on your footwear on the floor as you went up the stairs to get your phone and go back down?
It appeared that way, that there was something there, yeah.
You are in a highly stressed situation. You just unalived your wife and scuff marks on the floor. Come on now.
Did you get your phone?
I did get my phone.
What did you do with the phone once you got it?
I first drove to the hotel, I think, and I texted goodbye to some friends.
Texted goodbye to your friends.
Yes.
What friends did you text goodbye to?
As far as I remember, I saw he's a friend.
I believe in the Discord there's a picture of her. In her, I think she has her dreidel on, which is a very mispronounced way of that Bavarian Oktoberfest dress.
Kurt Pfannenstiel, and then some other friends.
Is that when you said to Kurt that you apologize and you're sorry and she was a devil and she played us all and love you, Harry?
Yes.
Now, what did you then do? Did you go to the hotel?
I went to the hotel, although
Oh, he had flip-flops on.
I don't remember a lot of that stuff. I was very intoxicated at that point in time.
Now, at the time that you
Oh,
had
dreidel. No, dreidel
last
is a
smacked
little
against
spinning
your
top.
head and you had the argument with Miss McLean, were you intoxicated at that point?
Yes.
And when you left the house and then went to the hotel, I think there's been some photographs that
Hey, I don't put my newly pictures on my Tinder profile either, which got closed. I don't know, because I wrote my YouTube chat made me make this.
showed a Glenfiddich.
Where is Discord?
Scotch, is it Scotch whiskey?
Whiskey.
Yes. On the passenger seat of the car?
That's what the picture shows, yeah.
You are in
Look at
this
that.
court.
Yes, I drank so much because I just didn't want to deal. I was just shocked.
There's a knife that's underneath, up against the back seat of the car. Do you recall that knife?
I saw a picture of a knife on.
Where'd that come from?
We typically had knife in the car in the glove box as a tool.
So that wasn't a weapon or anything like that?
No.
When you went back to the hotel, what happened? If you remember.
Tried to kill myself.
How did you do that?
Tried to cut myself.
Where did you obtain the knife to do that?
I don't know. Must have been there in the kitchen.
I'm showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 296. You recognize that, sir?
Yes.
What is that?
Left wrist.
And you still to this day bear scars?
I have
linear lines?
a big scar right here.
And this was what you did to yourself?
Tried to cut myself, yes.
And
Kill
that would be
myself.
the knife that was depicted on the table with the blood on it, right?
I assume so, yes. I don't really remember much of that.
Now, when you were admitted to the hospital, the medical records would show that one of the observations that were made is that you were attempting suicide by alcohol poisoning. Do you recall your state of inebriation when you went into the hospital, if you even remember?
I think it's a
was
general
gone.
chat. You have to scroll up.
I
a
don't
bit.
remember any of that.
Okay. Do you remember being in the hospital?
When I woke up,
Do you remember the police coming to talk to you?
yes.
And when you spoke to the police, what was your...
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. You're a world-renowned surgeon who gets headhunted to defraud, not to defraud at the department, to head up the department that you then defraud, apparently. And you can't figure out that you never do it across, you do it.
condition when you spoke to the police? Were you awake? Were you aware? Were you tired? What
I was totally hungover. I had a massive headache, and I was very confused. I was shocked about the whole thing. Actually, I was shocked that I woke up. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to live.
So you spoke to the police. We heard your statement to the police, correct?
I spoke to the police, yes.
At the time that you had the glass smashed off your head, cutting you, causing you to bleed, and you came up with your hand and grabbed her with your hand by the throat, did you intend to cause her harm and kill her?
No. Oh, no.
Of course, he wants to confuse the jury and try and win some sympathy, because they want the jury to only give him manslaughter. But I really don't think this helps. Yeah, I hope this could be really, really good.
Excuse me.
Do you need a minute?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good.
Probably not. He's an American citizen, so I don't think he'll get deported.
So you met Katie on Bumble,
That's correct.
and she was kind of a free spirit, right?
Very much so, yes.
She was a Reiki practitioner.
She called it Reiki, but it's not what she really did.
She called it Reiki, but that's not what she really did.
No.
She considered herself a healer,
She was a medium, a psychic.
and she considered herself a healer.
I'm not sure about that.
She helped people.
She connected people with dead family members, yes.
And her clients felt that she had a healing power, right?
Excuse me?
Her clients felt that she had a healing power.
She helped her, by connecting with dead family members, yes.
And she had many friends who were devoted to her.
Yes,
And in May of 2020, she had 3 children.
yes,
Sam was 13,
yes,
Grace was 17,
correct,
and Sophie was 18.
yes,
And Sam had just enrolled in the Landmark School, right?
yes.
And the Dover Public Schools were paying for that.
I helped with that, yes.
Well, that wasn't my question whether you helped. What I said was that the Dover Public Schools were paying for the Landmark School.
That's correct.
And Katie loved being a mother.
Most of the time, yes.
She was devoted to her children.
Most of the time.
And her friends and her family were right to be surprised when she was missing, right?
Objection. All right, sustain, rephrase it.
I don't know if he's a dual citizen, because we have a very famous unaliver who unalived his mother and then was deported to Denmark and then unalived his girlfriend and her sons. So I don't know if he's a dual citizen, they can chuck him out. I'm not an immigration lawyer.
You were asked about that in the interview, right? Do you recall that?
Ask about what, please?
About that she wouldn't
Because she was smecks crazy.
just leave her children, right?
Oh, she did.
So in the beginning of the interview, do you recall the interview at the police, at the hospital with Sergeant Kukowski and with Detective Gonski?
I don't recall all of the interview, sorry.
You don't remember all of the interview?
No, I remember
Do
pieces
you
of it.
remember the section when Detective Gonski said she wouldn't just leave her kids? Page 32?
Can I see it?
Sure.
What page was it?
32.
Yes.
Is that refresh your memory? Yes. And Detective Gonski said she wouldn't just leave her kids. And you said right.
I said no.
You agreed with Detective Gonski she wouldn't just leave her kids.
Yes.
And it's not unusual when someone's getting divorced that one person has to leave the house, right?
No, not by restraining order, I don't think so.
So in divorces, when there are two people living in a home, it's not unusual that one person has to leave, right?
At some point in time, certainly.
And did that happen in your first marriage in Germany?
Did that happen in my first German marriage?
Yes.
Oh, that was totally different.
It's a different city. But it is Jen McCabe's lawyer. That was one has to leave. No. You can say, I don't think we should be married anymore. Okay, I'll move into the other bedroom. No one has to leave just because you get divorced. It's normal that one leaves, but you don't have to. You could just say, yeah, I'm going down in the man cave and staying there, and we'll still share the obligations, give the kids a home, and it'll be weird, but if there's a tie on the door, don't come knocking. That's weird.
Did you have to leave the home?
Actually, my
Have you ever seen War of the Roses?
Germany under the school.
You were divorced in Germany, right?
Yes.
Did you have to leave the family home in that divorce?
No.
And what about in your second divorce?
Ultimately, yes, but not first not.
But you moved out, right?
Correct. Ultimately, I did.
And then you purchased a second home. That's the 29 Valley Road, right?
That's correct.
And you were upset. You mentioned the restraining order just now. You were upset when the restraining order issued and barred you from living at 29 Valley Road, right?
Officer Wilcox said I was sad. I was sad.
I'm not asking about what Officer Wilcox said. I'm asking how you felt.
I was sad.
Were you upset?
I was not upset, but sad that I had to leave my home.
All right.
I think she was married 3 times and he was married twice. Was there someone in Germany also?
And then you struggled to find a place to live.
Correct.
And you felt that the house was yours, right?
I bought it. It wasn't my name.
But did you feel like it was your property?
Yes.
And you still feel that way, right?
Well, I shared the deed with her. I don't know.
Glenn
House is long gone.
All right. And you thought that Katie should leave, right?
Sorry, what?
You thought that Katie should leave, right?
Excuse me.
You thought that Katie should leave 29 Valley Road, right?
I didn't think anybody should leave when we planned the divorce. Or when I planned the divorce.
I'm sorry, I missed that last part. When you planned the divorce?
When I planned the divorce, I did not see that anybody had to leave until the end of the school year.
Okay. So you planned to get divorced, stay living together until the end of the school year.
That is what was somewhat discussed, yes, with her actually.
And then who was going to leave at the end of the school year?
I was leaving to Germany, was selling the house, and Katie and her 3 children would move into the condo or Belmont of her mother.
Okay, but you weren't going to leave in that plan, right? You were going to stay at 29 Valley.
I would move to Germany.
But you weren't going to leave until you went to Germany.
Nobody was leaving until I went to Germany, until the school year was over.
Okay. And then on April 15th, you were living at that time where were you living on April 15th?
April 15th, I was living in Florida, in a trailer.
In the trailer park. And that was the trailer that Bob Guyan owned?
Yes, it was a small camper, actually.
A small
Yes.
camper?
Yeah.
All right. And Bob Guyan, how did you know him?
Bob Guyan used to be the COO or CFO of Stewart Healthcare, and he became a patient of mine. He had aggressive prostate cancer. I did.
So he had a fair amount of resources, right?
Excuse me?
He had a fair amount of resources, Bob Guyan?
I do not know for sure.
The COO of Stewart Healthcare?
I don't know about his resources. We were friends, but I didn't worry about his resources.
Who knows? If your body you can make a great salary and spend way more. How should he know the amount of resources this guy have? Yeah, he had a great position, but he could have a crippling drug and gambling addiction. You don't need these type of questions. It's such an easy case because he isn't a good witness. Stop trying to do all of this. I think it's something in the water in Canton. They really don't help themselves, the prosecutors.
And he lived in Newport, right? In Florida?
Yeah, I have had people. I had an accountant buddy of mine, even well into his late 20s. His mom had to come give him groceries every month or every week because he had never had any money. He liked to gamble.
Florida was a camper.
Okay. And he also lived in Newport, Rhode Island?
Yes, he had purchased a house in Newport.
All right. And this camper, it's not like a standalone camper. It was at a particular over 55 area, right?
It was a standalone camper.
But it wasn't a standalone camper in the sense that there were no other campers around it, right?
No, it was a camping ground, an RV ground, or RV park, something like that.
And there were trailers also?
There were other campers, RVs, and there were some few, I don't know how you would call them, cabins.
It's over 55 community?
I do not recall over 55 community.
There was a pool,
That was closed at the time because of COVID.
but there was a pool?
It was closed.
I'm not asking if the pool was open or closed. I'm just
There was a
asking
pool
whether-
without water, yes.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure you're understanding my
There was a pool without water. It was empty. It was closed up. Nobody was allowed to go to the pool because of, nobody was allowed to congregate because of COVID. We were all by ourselves in the campers.
Okay. But this isn't a camper in the middle of nowhere. This is a camper that's part of a planned community, right?
Yeah, but
What does this have to do with him unaliving her? We don't care about a camper. We just want to know if you can say, hey, buddy, you'd never tried CPR. There's no signs of that. It's like Lally going on and on and on about the high tops, the low tops, the music in the bar. It has no relevance to the case. Why do you want to have these stupid details? The jury doesn't care. They saw him on the stand crying and coming off less than truthful. You just have to ask him about saying, you really didn't do that, right?
community didn't exist at the time of COVID. Nobody was congregating. Everybody was staying in their own campers because COVID and the shutdowns and everything just demanded that. We didn't hang out together. I was by myself
You were by yourself in Florida,
in the camper, yes.
in the camper. Okay. You weren't happy in that situation, right?
I was scared.
Were you happy?
No,
All right. So you weren't happy,
no,
you were scared,
yes.
and then you said that you wanted to reconcile with Keith, right?
Kurt Fennenstiel called me before that.
Kurt called you before that, and so you're testifying right now that it was Katie's idea that you should get back together.
Kurt told me that Katie let him know that she believes that, she wants me to come home, or she missed me, she missed the family, and he just wanted me to be aware of that.
And this is prior to April 17th, that's what you're testifying?
Yes.
Just a minute, please.
Yes.
Come back. All right, so you just talked about the restraining order and the circumstances that led to the restraining order. Katie didn't go directly to a courthouse to get a restraining order, right?
My understanding is that she went to the police in Dover, and the police drove her to the courthouse.
All right. And she went to the police and said, I'm getting divorced and I think you should know, right?
I believe that's correct.
All right. And then the police said, wait a minute, we
I'm gonna-
need to talk
I'm gonna
about this,
object right
right?
now.
Sustained. Rephrase it, please.
All right. She didn't call the police from the 29 Valley Road to report anything, right?
No.
And after the conversation that she had with the police, then that was when she went with the police to the district court to get the restraining order, right?
That's my understanding.
And then after that, that's when the Dover police took out the charges, right?
Yes.
And part of that led to a no contact order as well, right?
Correct.
That no contact order was in place on May 15th of 2020, right?
Correct.
And that was something that you were concerned about when you went back to 29 Valley Road in May, right?
No, by that time, the restraining order was vacated.
The restraining order was vacated, but the no contact order was in place, right?
I'm not sure.
And you took efforts to make sure that you were only driving the Jeep back and forth to the hotel, right?
I wouldn't call it that took efforts. It was the fact that Katie came with the Jeep to pick me up on Sunday night on the 10th. And then we drove the Jeep back to the house, and then though we had just the Jeep at the house.
But first you went to the hotel because the Mercedes ended up at the hotel, right?
When Katie picked me up from New York, we went to the hotel, yes.
In the Mercedes.
Correct.
And then you drove back and forth between the house at 29 Valley and the Residence Inn in the Jeep, right?
No.
You didn't drive back and forth between the house and the hotel in the Jeep,
No.
okay? And you wanted to make sure that the neighbors knew that the restraining order had been vacated, right?
Katie wanted to make sure.
Well, you texted Katie and told her to make sure that the neighbors knew, right?
I believe she did that before, but I asked her, hey, do the neighbors know that it's okay to be here? And she said yes.
Because you knew that there was still the no contact order, and you didn't want to get into trouble with the court, right?
That
Well, again, we don't have to agree or disagree. We all see what we see. We are 174 people here. To me, he comes off untrustworthy, and to Dave, he comes off as the most trustworthy person in the world. It's we see the case with the eyes we see it. I don't find him particularly trustworthy, and but it's the same with the people who says, well, she was a saint. No, she wasn't. Even though she's dead, we are allowed to say that she probably liked his wallet a little bit more than his personality. It's okay. It's still not okay what he did, but it's we all see the case with our eyes. The only thing we have to agree on is even though we disagree, we only yell at Sue.
that is true, yes.
And part of signing the post-nup was so that you could get back in the house, right?
That was the main part.
And you wanted to resolve the divorce, right?
It was part of the post-nup.
Okay. You wanted to resolve being able to be back in the house,
I wanted to have safe shelter, yes.
all right? And then there were
Kirk, you are roughly 5 minutes behind.
provisions about getting the girls through high school.
Correct.
There were provisions about selling the house
There was, yes.
and about your retirement accounts.
I don't remember that, but you say so, yes.
All right. And you divided up the motor vehicles too, right?
Excuse me?
You divided up the motor vehicles too?
No.
In the event of a future divorce, you kept the Mercedes and were responsible for the maintenance costs, and she effigy?
I'm not sure. If you say that it's on there, then it's probably true. I don't remember about the cars. I just remember that she put that thousand up in front of me and said, please sign, otherwise you can't come home.
And there was never any provision in there, or alimony was not going to happen, right? That wasn't part of it.
I'm not sure what if that was part of it. It was about the house deed, about
Yeah, and again, most cases don't have a saint. They often have a dead person who might have a little bit of shade to their life because we are all imperfect. The only perfect person is Jamie.
being there for 2 years for Grace to finish high school, about her getting money and of that stuff. Sorry.
And you told the police in the interview that you agreed that she should feel secure in the home.
That was part of the post-nup agreement, correct?
And you told the police that you agreed with that, right?
Yes. I wanted to make things work.
agree.
Yes.
All right. Your bedroom is a very large bedroom, correct?
Yes.
And it would have been easy to walk out of that bedroom, right?
I'm not sure if I understand what you mean.
At the point that you were having the argument with Katie, it would have been easy just to walk out the door, right?
That's an option, certainly.
You also could have locked yourself in the bathroom.
Yes.
You could have locked yourself in the big walk-in closet.
Yes.
You didn't do any of those things.
That is correct.
And you weren't afraid of Katie at that point in time, right?
I was afraid of being thrown out again. She threatened me to be thrown, that I'm going to kick her out of the house. She asked me, get the fuck out of my house.
So you were afraid that you were going to have to leave 29 Valley.
I was afraid of dying of COVID.
You were afraid of dying of COVID, and you were afraid of having to leave 29 Valley.
I was afraid of dying of COVID.
And there was some mention.
But you weren't more afraid than you took a plane from Florida to New York. Or did he drive up? He must have flown, because why else would he go to Newark? I don't think it's the most happening place in the world, where you get picked up by Katie and her ex-husband. You check into a motel where you talk to the guy at the counter. And you go stay with Katie and her kids. And you want to move back in the house because that's the only safe zone you have for a disease that you're deadly afraid of. After you just sat in an iron tube, I don't know how long the flight is from Florida to Newark, 3-4 hours, with probably just one of those that doesn't work for that mask. We can talk about it on YouTube. You got into a car with 2 people who could be contaminated that you didn't know about. You went into a motel, hotel, where, again, it's an airborne disease. It could be all over the place. But you were so deadly afraid of this disease that you wanted to go back to your house. You weren't afraid to go out of the only reason you don't want to be thrown out of the house is because of the deceive it. But all the other things was okay. You can do it. You were not deadly afraid of to get on a plane where you're sitting in recirculated air. Again, you're a doctor. You must know a little bit about germs and how they travel. You had no problem doing that because people use a little alcohol rub on their hands. So as a doctor, you know an airborne disease really is, as long as they, either you're the worst doctor in the world and the stupidest doctor in the world, or you're the greatest doctor in the world that everyone wants to hire. He would have to have a recirculation breather on not to be exposed to it in a plane. 2.5, yeah. I think it happened on a Thursday, and they arrested him Saturday morning. It just doesn't make sense.
In one of the emails that you had with Mr. Hoffman about how you thought that maybe you had COVID, you recall that?
Yeah, because he's so afraid, but he really want to go home. You want to know, ladies, close your ears. Guys, do you know how you can spread germs? When you're doing the horizontal mambo, bodily fluids are really, really good spreading germs. So if you're so deadly afraid of catching anything, especially with a woman who she has cakes in the grass, don't do the horizontal mambo, because it's a really good. You can get the clap. I'm an old Navy guy. Trust me.
I was negative.
You actually didn't have COVID. How tall are you, sir?
6'3".
How much did you weigh in May of 2020?
Yeah, he's from East Germany, from back in the good old East Germany.
Probably 230 pounds, 235 pounds.
So you'd agree that Katie was much smaller.
Yes,
She wasn't nearly as strong as you were, right?
that is correct.
And you knew that.
Yes,
And you've had some pretty significant medical training, correct?
yes,
You're a board certified surgeon.
correct.
And in medical school, you had courses in anatomy, right?
Yes,
You're aware of the structures of anatomy.
absolutely.
Some of those have been discussed during the course of this trial.
Excuse me?
Some of those have been discussed in the course of this trial.
What?
Discussed.
Discussed, yes.
And you're aware of where the arteries are.
The carotid arteries?
Any arteries in the neck. You're aware of those are, where they are.
Yes,
And you're aware that if the brain isn't getting enough oxygen for any reason, death occurs.
if I'm not intoxicated, I know that, yes.
If you're not,
I hate stupid defendants. I bet you he told Reddington, I can handle this woman. You don't forget where the arteries are in the neck when you're drunk. You have trained your entire life to be a doctor. Do you know, dear sir, how many times I have walked into a bakery where I probably should have been at home sleeping because I was drunk? And I can still close my eyes and make bread because it's all in the wrist. You don't forget, this is basic anatomy. Anyone here who took a bio class kind of knows that the tube goes up in the one side and down in the other side. I hate smart defendants who can just talk my way out of this. Please don't drive drunk. He shouldn't be up there. Remember to keep it at a roughly skin temperature and knead it enough so you'll make gluten and everything will be fine. I really wish that especially these smart people would listen when the lawyer tells them you can talk your way right into a jail cell. I can potentially talk you out of one, but most likely you won't do it. Whew. Probably.
intoxicated, you know that if the brain isn't getting enough oxygen for any reason, death occurs.
Yeah, when I'm not drunk, I know all that, yes.
Put one in chat if you are sometimes so drunk you forget that humans need to breathe to survive?
When you are drunk, you don't know that if your brain doesn't have oxygen, you die.
Probably do.
You probably do what?
Do know. I do know, but anyway,
Oh, you're
That's a
such an
basic
idiot.
medical concept, right?
yes.
And certainly it's important to protect the airwaves so that suffocation doesn't occur as well, right?
That's correct.
And you know how to perform life-saving measures.
Yes.
You've been trained in CPR.
Yes.
And you didn't tell the police, however, that you performed any CPR on Katie, right?
No.
And you were aware in May of 2020 that if you had called 911, that medical professionals could have come and helped Katie as well.
Yes.
And you didn't do that.
No.
So when the police met with you at the hospital, they were respectful, that's correct?
Yes.
They didn't hide why they were there, right? And in fact, the hospital staff told you before you met with the police that the police wanted to speak with you.
Briefly before, yes.
And you chose to go with the police, right?
Yes.
This is after 5 o'clock on the 16th, right?
I don't remember exactly what day it was.
All right, it's on Saturday though, right?
It was the day when I woke up from the coma.
All right. And at that point in time, you've been given IV treatments with fluids at the hospital, right?
I do not recall that. I was out.
That would be pretty standard though, when you're admitted to the hospital unresponsive, that just saline IV fluids would be given, right?
I would assume so, yes. I would have done it as a physician, certainly.
Okay. And that would be helpful if you're having a hangover, right? Or if you've drunk too much. That's helpful treatment.
Well, hydration in general is a good treatment, but not for hangover necessarily. No.
There are people who just go get IV treatments after a night of partying, right?
I'm not aware of that. I'm a urologist.
You're not aware of that? And so when the police said that they wanted to speak with you, you weren't confused about why they were there, right?
I was confused in general what was going on.
But you knew that you had killed Katie, so it made sense that the police were there.
I had caused her death, and I was feeling very guilty and very shameful.
But it made sense that the police would show up, right?
Yes.
Okay. So going into the interview, you knew what this was about. You didn't think it was about a stolen car or anything, did you?
No, I assumed it was about Katie.
All right. And they provided you with Miranda warnings,
I think yes.
and you were provided those in writing, right?
And you say I'm nasty?
I think I signed something.
You signed something, right?
Yes.
And they were read to you,
I believe so, yes.
and you understood that, right?
Again, I'm not in great condition, but I said
Whether or not you were
okay.
in a great condition, you understood those basic Miranda warnings, right?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure.
No.
Okay.
If I really understood what was explained to me,
You told the police you understood, right?
I signed what they asked me to sign. I don't think I said I understand.
All right. Let's look at the form.
Again, the smartest, dumbest person in the world.
Exhibit 280, 280.
I can't remember when the fraud was, but it must have been around the same time. Hey, Doink the Clown, been missing you. How's the belt?
Could you please read out loud what's printed on that form?
The whole thing from again. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Office of the Norfolk District Attorney, State Police Detective Unit, waiver of Miranda. IT, make the following voluntary statement to T.R. Koskowski of MA State Police to promise or threats have made to me. No promise or threats have been made to me, and I've been advised of my Miranda rights as follows. Number one, that I have the right to remain silent. Number two, that anything I say can and will be used against me in court of law. Number three, that I have the right to talk to a lawyer or to have a lawyer with me while I'm questioned by the police. Four, that if I cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent me before any questioning, if I wish. Five, that if I begin to answer questions, I have the right to stop the questioning at any time. I understand each of these rights and have those rights in mind, waive them voluntarily, and wish to make a statement. Signatures.
And your signature is on that.
Yes, correct.
And that was read out loud to you by Trooper Kwiatkowski, right?
I believe he did, yes.
And then he said to you, you understand those rights? And you said, yes, sir.
I don't know if I used that words.
Do you still have the transcript?
Sorry, what?
You still have the transcript? Page 2?
Page 2?
Yes.
You understand those rights? I said, yes, sir.
All right. And then Trooper Kwiatkowski followed up and he said, all right, having heard your rights, do you wish to have a conversation with us?
Yes.
And what did you say?
Saying yes.
All right. And in fact, you availed yourself of one of those rights at a certain point in the interview, right?
I did what, sorry?
You took advantage of those rights, correct?
I'm not sure what you're
You asked for
asking
a
for.
break.
I asked for a break, yes.
And what happened?
I went and discharged my bladder.
You got a break?
Yes.
And in the beginning of the interview, you didn't provide a lot of information about where Katie was, right?
Correct.
You didn't tell them that you had killed her.
I don't know if they asked that at that time.
They didn't just start the interview by asking that question, right? But when they said, do you know where she is? What did you say?
I don't know.
You said that a lot, right?
Yes.
And you remembered what had happened at that point in time when they were speaking with you, right?
Remembered of what, sorry?
You knew what you had done,
I did remember some of what happened, yes.
but you said that you didn't remember an awful lot, right?
I was confused in the beginning of the conversation.
I think she was enhanced before he met her.
Were there things that you actually did remember that you actually just didn't tell the police?
I actually think they asked for receipts for the bubolas at some point.
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Well, you knew that you had killed Katie,
I have caused her death, yes.
and you said that you didn't remember, right?
Probably. Again, I don't recall all the conversation. At some point in time, I admitted everything.
Okay. At some point, you admitted a lot of what happened. But in the beginning, you said that you didn't remember the night, correct?
There was a lot of hastiness there, yes.
But what you said to the police is that you didn't remember the night, right?
Again, in the beginning, I wasn't all there. It got better with time.
So you're saying that your memory got better during the conversation?
I think it was 3 hours, so I got more and more out of the hangover.
The hangover improved?
Yes.
At the beginning of the interview, page 17, you were asked whether there was an argument, asked about the argument. Trooper Kwiatkowski said, tell me about the argument. And at that point, you said you didn't remember, right?
But I'm not sure about that.
Okay. And then you were asked a couple of different times where Katie was. And you said you didn't know.
I'm not sure. I think I asked them most of the time.
I'm sorry?
I think I said I'm not sure.
All right, page 19. Trooper Kwiatkowski says, where can we go find her? And you said, I don't know.
Yes, I see that, yes.
Okay. But you did know. You knew where she was, right?
It came back to me, yes.
No, when you were having that conversation at that point in time, it's about, 28 minutes into the interview, you knew where Katie was, right?
In principle, I did know, yes.
In principle?
I do remember, yes. I did remember,
Right, you just didn't want to talk about it yet, right?
probably.
And a little bit later, page 33, the police asked, Detective Gonski, where can we find her? Again, you said, I don't know.
Yes,
And this is more than an hour into the interview at this point in time, right?
I do not recall. I just knew it was a long time that I was asked.
They asked you how you got the scratches, right?
Yes,
And you said you didn't know about that either.
that's correct.
You said you didn't remember going to the hotel, right?
Yes,
And you said you didn't know whether you were trying to harm yourself.
I didn't remember much of that, correct.
But that's what you said, that you didn't remember whether you were trying to harm yourself.
I didn't remember.
And now you have a clear memory that you were trying to harm yourself.
I got a lot of my memory back, yes,
You got your memory back?
yes.
And there were times when the police were incorrect about their facts, but But that didn't confuse you, like when they talked about using the name Kyle instead of Kurt?
I never I didn't heard of anybody like Kyle. That's
Yeah,
correct.
you knew that. You knew that they were wrong about that. That didn't confuse you.
But I was confused. I don't
You
know
didn't
any
say, "Oh,
Kyle.
yeah, I sent Kyle a text." You knew they were wrong.
I don't think I.
You said, I don't know Kyle.
Which page is that, please?
Look at,
That's because Arnie is from Austria. Probably a little more Bauer in him.
page 30.
30.
Page 31.
Yeah. Oh, Trooper Koskowski asked me, Harry, tell us about text you sent to Kyle. And I said, text what?
Yep.
And then
if you
Trooper
go, I'm gonna stop.
Sorry.
If you go all the way down to page 31, you said, you go back and forth a little bit, and you say, no, there's no friend named Kyle. I don't know a Kyle. And then Detective Gonski says Kurt. She's fiddling around with her notes, and finally she finds it, and she says it's Kurt. You didn't get confused. You knew there was no Kyle.
Well, there was some confusion before you jumped to that. There was, I do not remember Kyle. To who, I asked. So there was a lot of confusion first going on until I recognized that I don't know Kyle.
But that confusion didn't lead you to make any false statements or anything, right?
I'm not sure what you're asking right now, sorry.
I'm saying you understood the conversation that you were having, and you knew, I don't know anybody named Kyle.
After several
I didn't
minutes,
send anybody named Kyle a text, right?
I recognized that I don't know Kyle, correct.
And similarly, when the police talked about the woods, you knew Katie wasn't in the woods, right?
No. I mean, I did know that she was not in the woods,
The
correct.
police were confused because they had been relying on the ping and all that kind of stuff, so we keep talking about the woods. But you knew she's at the pond,
Yes,
and still the police were patient with you.
yes.
They repeatedly requested information, but you understood that that was reasonable considering the circumstances, right?
Can you repeat the question, please?
You understood that them repeatedly requesting information was reasonable considering the circumstances.
Yes.
And you understood that they were just doing their job.
Yes.
So the first thing that you said regarding assaulting Katie around the neck was that you said you grabbed her around the neck, but you weren't sure. You
What
recall
page was that?
You recall that?
I would need, can I look at that page, please?
Page 44.
So I was asked if I grabbed her, and I said probably.
And then later on page 44, you said, I think I grabbed her around the neck, I believe, but I'm not sure either, right?
I'm not sure. I think I grabbed her around the neck, I believe, but I'm not sure either.
All right, this is over 2 hours into this interview with the police, and this is the first time that you are talking about grabbing Katie around the neck, right?
I'm not sure how long that was in, but yes, it took a while that I
And you
said
did
that.
not say that you grabbed her with one hand, did you?
I wasn't asked.
But you were given a lot of opportunities.
That's such a stupid question. I wasn't asked. Someone said the same thing at a grand jury. Why didn't you tell the grand jury? She said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. They never asked.
To speak in this interview, right?
But I knew that I grabbed her with one hand.
I'm not
She's just like every other attorney in Norfolk County DA's office. Obnoxious.
asking you what you knew. I'm asking about what you told the police.
I grabbed her. I think I grabbed her, I said to the police.
You think you grabbed her what?
I said, I'm not sure. I think I grabbed her around the neck, I believe, but I'm not sure either.
And you don't say anything about one hand at this point.
They tried to play it off as they almost stood at the table or the bed and yanked him out of it. But I think it was the day after, and he had been given plenty of fluids and sleep, so they tried to play it off like they sneakily interviewed me while I was half asleep. But we heard the interview. He answers. He responds to questions. He asks for a break. He gets a break. He doesn't seem like they want to portray him as someone who was way out there and couldn't respond to anything.
Right?
At this point, no.
In fact, in the entire interview, you never said one hand, did you?
That was never really specifically asked.
Again, you were given a lot of time to speak, right?
Yes,
There were very long pauses at certain points in time.
yes.
And even at the end of the interview, you were asked, was there anything else that you should be talking about? And you didn't bring it up then, did you?
It was logical to me. I didn't realize that, again, I wasn't asked about the specific.
Zach, just because you found out she's a female tomboy.
Just told her I grabbed her, I think.
And it's right after you say that you grabbed her around the neck that you asked for the break, right? Look at page 45.
Yes,
And then you got one.
yes.
And then when you came back into the room, there was a different police officer in the room.
I don't recall that, but the transcript says that was somebody else, yeah.
All right. Detective Gonzi left, right?
Yeah, she wasn't there.
She wasn't there.
Yes.
And Detective Porro was there.
There were two men there, yes.
There were two men. And you told the police that you choked her, right?
What page is that, please?
Do you remember telling?
No, I think they have been taught, because we do this, we can tell whenever they had this is the way you have to ask questions now. And every attorney will then, every prosecutor will then ask questions that way. And sometimes it's really annoying, and they go back to doing it the old way. I think they have seminars where this is how you ask a question. Then you'll get most of it. And it's just annoying.
The police that you choked her?
I don't recall again the whole interview, sorry, but can I see the page, please?
You've been hanging around for almost 2 years. That's why.
'61?
61,
Sorry, 56.
56?
Yeah.
I said, I think I choked her.
Right? And then you told the police that she passed out.
Right.
And you said she was fighting first, and then I was continuing, and then she passed out, and I realized we went too far on our way.
Which is that, please?
56.
56? Yes.
And this interview had gone on at this point in time for almost 2.5 hours. Is that correct?
I really don't recall time.
I wish I had that. No, and it's some.
Yes. Jurors, if you want to stand up, stretch.
It's some prosecutor who thought it would be a good.
All right.
Are they? Was that all from the state, or are we ending? What time is it? It's
It's a
4:30.
matter of what stays in and what comes outside instruction, and then I'll give the remainder of the charge after that. I'm working off the model homicide instructions, as I'm essentially required to do. So it's a matter of what stays in and what comes out, if you want to think about that. I received some special requests from the Commonwealth. I don't have them in front of me, but I know there was a request for motive. There was a request for humane practice, which would include, I know the Commonwealth is asking that the Miranda portion of humane practice be included as well. I don't know if there's an objection to that portion.
No.
Okay. The direct and circumstantial evidence, expert witness, I would give both of those. No objection, Mr. Reddington. Prior bad acts.
I don't understand where that's coming from, so at this point, yes.
Your Honor, that was us requesting it where there's been references to the charges, especially the defendant's testimony today referencing the Dover police taking out a complaint and the 209A order, so we're covering our bases there.
I can't hear you.
Sorry.
cover your base, but there's nothing about taking out charges. He's talking about the restraining order.
I believe there was, if I'm not mistaken, the no contact order seems to be part of a criminal charge as opposed.
No contact order, I mean, but that's not taking out criminal charges.
I think there was a reference to a complaint, and I don't know if it was limited to a complaint for a restraining order. So in an abundance of caution, I would give
But
that.
he responded restraining order, is what his response
All
was.
right. Consciousness of guilt. The Commonwealth is requesting that, I'm assuming, with respect to the body being placed in the pond.
Yes, Your Honor, concealment of evidence.
Mr. Reddington?
I'm aware of, Tony and the other cases. I'm aware of the instruction that innocent people can have feelings of guilt. I'm hard pressed to object to that instruction based on the evidence.
All right, the emotional disturbing photographs instruction, I would give that. I would give the motive instruction unless there's a objection to it. I would hear from both of you, meaning the Commonwealth is not required to prove motive as an element of it. No objection?
I mean, I don't think we need that, though.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
I said I don't think we need that.
All right, is the Commonwealth requesting it?
Yes.
All right, I would give it if the Commonwealth is requesting it.
Well, I'm going to object to that because I feel that that's just adding a layer to the burden of proof, if you will, but in effect, where the government does not have to prove motive. Why even raise the issue? Why would the court comment on it to a jury if the government doesn't have to prove motive? In other words, I think it's better left unsaid. So now I'm just going to object to the instruction.
All right, there is I believe there was a case cite with that request. There's not. If you can get me a case cite, please.
I can, Your Honor.
And email it to Mr. Reddington as well, and I'll take a look at that.
That would be fine. And then I think the last one that we may have skipped over was the Commonwealth just asking a reiteration of instruction that you previously gave on state of mind evidence because it came in throughout the trial.
Is the acoustics in here or what is it?
State of mind evidence, the instruction on state of mind evidence.
To what extent and what do you got?
Ms. Monahan?
That the alleged victim's prior statements, as they came in through the testimony of the witnesses and text messages, went in for the purpose of showing her state of mind as to the relationship, deterioration of marriage, essentially what Your Honor previously gave. I'm not asking for anything different from then what was given at the beginning of trial.
So there were a lot of statements, a lot of evidence that I elicited as it relates to the state of mind of the defendant. So I have no problem if the court couches it in state of mind evidence to be evaluated by the jury as it relates to the defendant and the victim. But I would rather not have the court comment state of mind on the victim, the victim, the victim. I just think that it should be both of them with this evidence as to state of mind on both of them.
The SJC case on point indicates that it's a more or less a required instruction. So I would be prepared to give that with respect to the victim's state of mind. If you can find me some authority on the defendant's state of mind or a case on it, I'll look at that in the morning as well.
And Your Honor, I would just note for that, on where the case, but my concern, I'll put on the record, is that where the defendant's statements came in as party opponent's substantive evidence, that might become confusing with the instruction on state of mind, because some came for substantive, some came for state of mind. So that would be my concern with it as to the defendant.
Whose statements for state of mind?
The defendant's statements came in for
That
substantive
again dovetails
evidence.
right into what I just told you. Why would we focus on the victim's state of mind, where the government obviously is well aware of the fact that the evidence is not just the victim, but also the defendant. So you can instruct the jury on state of mind as a tool that they may apply to evaluating the evidence, whether it's the defendant's state of mind or the victim's state of mind. I don't see why we have to just focus on the government's end of the case.
I think we're talking about two different exceptions to the hearsay rule. One being the victim's state of mind, not offered to prove the truth of the matter, correct?
My understanding is anytime you have state of mind, it's not offered to prove the truth of the
Right.
matter. It's offered
However,
state of mind first.
however, the defendant's statements, why wouldn't they come in as statements of a party opponent, substantively?
Well, you could, and that's the government has not argued that, first of all.
I think she just did.
Well, I think clearly you're still talking about state of mind. Whether or not it's coming in substantively. The fact it's coming in substantively does not in and of itself remove it from the realm of when you instruct. In other words, jury may not believe or determine that it's coming in substantively, but they may determine that in fact it's helpful as mind. All I'm saying is that if you're going to instruct on state of mind, you should instruct as it relates to both defendant and the government.
All right, I'll look at it tonight. I'll try to have a draft for you in the morning when you get here, if you want to take a look at it. Mr. Reddington, I'm assuming you're asking for a manslaughter instruction?
Oh, absolutely. Voluntary and involuntary.
What is the theory on involuntary?
Cromwell versus Santa. Cromwell versus Santa, and I'm dating myself because Santa was actually my case. Cromwell versus Santa, the Supreme Judicial Court indicates, and I quote, where a defendant has been convicted of murder, the Supreme Judicial Court has addressed the argument that because of the level of a defendant's intoxication, and it is well aware that there's significant evidence as to impairment by way of intoxication, quote, a jury should have been given an instruction on involuntary manslaughter, Commonwealth versus Santa, 424 Mass 92. Put differently, the jury could find the defendant did not subjectively know of the circumstances that objectively created the risk of harm, which is exactly what I would argue in this case. Then the jury should be allowed to convict the defendant on the theory of involuntary manslaughter because of lack of subjective knowledge of the circumstance.
And what book are you reading from?
You probably have a more up-to-date volume, but it's The Law of Homicide in Massachusetts, Second Edition, Justice John Green, S.J.C. Flash, it's a flash book.
As to involuntary manslaughter, Your Honor, I'd like to just speak about it overnight, considering the testimony that came in today and the case law on this. At this point, for the voluntary manslaughter, where the defendant has testified in this case in abundance of caution, while I think there could be arguments made about the objective elements on voluntary manslaughter, the Commonwealth would not object to the voluntary manslaughter, again, in abundance of caution where the defendant has testified.
And Mr. Reddington, you're asking for self-defense?
Believe it or not, I agree. Yes.
What's the Commonwealth's position on that?
Sorry, did he say yes?
I can't hear him.
That's a change.
Can I suggest that we just wait for the charge conference until the defendant has finished testifying?
We can. I'd like to have a draft, however, in the morning.
But, you know, he's still going to be testifying tomorrow, and they're picking apart every single issue that they're only going to try to backfill for cross-examination.
We'll call it a very rough draft in the morning, and then we can discuss it further. Okay? All right. Thank you. This is the
So, cross-examination will continue in the morning. Seems like they are going to do closings tomorrow. It was way faster than I expected. Recross, I don't think it's going to be long. He seems like a guy who really wants it done. Seems like one of the few lawyers who does what is near and dear to my heart and to your hearts.
The most important people in this case that everybody seems to have forgotten in this room is the jury. So we're going to take a 15-minute break and both sides take a pregnant pause and think about the jury.
He seems to be one of the few lawyers who think about the jury. So he went a little rogue with the lead-in story about how horrible his life had been. But I think he did okay, but he just had a bad witness. Because as soon as Cross hit, he talked himself, in my opinion, very close to a jail cell. In the end, they were talking about what should be in the jury instructions, and apparently they will both have voluntary and involuntary manslaughter as lesser included. He was asked if he wanted to put in self-defense, and he asked to say that tomorrow after cross-examination was ended, so she couldn't attack him on everything before it started. I don't think anyone will buy self-defense in this case. I think potentially if they go back to some room and he slaps him across the face and said, "Stop being an arrogant prick," he might be able to talk it down a bit, get a lesser included. Juries are weird. But I don't think that self-defense would ever fly in this case. That DA is helping the defense. It's horrendous so bad she is at asking questions. But it is the way they do it in this district, apparently, because it's the same as Lally. I'll ask a question. I won't listen to what you tell me. I'll just ask a similar question, and I do it 25,000 million times. And I will hanger on to something that's ridiculous and has nothing to do with the case. Was there a pool at the trailer park? What, if any, does that have to do with anything? It's one of those, I don't know why, it's it's the high tops all over again. It's fine that he asked 1 or 2 witnesses how much snow was there. You could see it in the library video. You didn't have to ask every effing witness how much snow there was, because again, you showed us the library video. We could see how much snow there was. And it's the same thing here, I feel, where they get into their mind, this is really important. That it was a fancy trailer park or a shitty trailer park doesn't change anything. He moved back to Massachusetts. It doesn't matter if it was a double wide, if it was a tent, because he wasn't there the night he did it. It's Norfolk County, Baker. They only keep the special juries for innocent victims. Yeah. I don't think they're going to try to get the self-defense. That would be wild. Did I just read they were revising the charges? No. They what are the charges? It's first-degree red rum. But they then asked for second. No, it's first-degree red rum, and then the state asked for second degree as a minor included, lesser included, and then the defense asked for manslaughter and manslaughter involuntary. And then he asked him, do you want self-defense? And then Reddington was talking to his co-counsel and didn't listen. So that's going to be a problem. Is the pool to show it was a classy place, but it could have been an above ground with a deck pool? It's a stupid question. It has to do anything here. If it's self-defense, you don't conceal the body in a pond. No. That's why I hope they don't ask for it. Well, Grand Mal twerking does hide all her self-defense victims in a pond. Palola's mom, that was Texas. I'm probably butchering names. She's like Texas, was generous and gifted 20 Broken Baker memberships. Thank you so much. I say not guilty because it's Norfolk County and she's a gold who used an RO on men just like LG. Yeah, but it doesn't give them the right to unalive them. Most of the RV parks I've seen have pools. It's a thing that they kind of need, and now they need that, what's it called, glamping, with the fancy stuff as well. It's just the evolution of trailer parks. It's nothing. Unalignment in the first degree. Maybe her last words were, sing my body. And again, it's such a stupid statement. Oh, so you weren't afraid of the vid. So what? It doesn't change anything. Yeah, I don't think they would be stupid enough to try and go for self-defense. She was trying to show that he had some grand life down in Florida where no one was wearing masks and he was just hanging out at the pool. Yeah, that's why he wanted to go back north in the cold. And I don't know how strict the restriction was in Massachusetts, but no, he didn't probably choke her. He did choke her. It's Middlesex. At the end of the day, we don't know. We all know what Banshee women are like when they kick off. Look at Jill Daniels and Skeletor. I love me a grifter any day of the week. Thank you, Palola's mom. Well, grifters are plenty on this channel. But cross-examination will continue mañana. That's tomorrow in Spanish, Jamie. And then possibly it'll go to the jury tomorrow, and we can run this down. I don't think it's going to be a 5-week deliberation case. Rumor is Karen Reed jury selection has hit 12 people. So they have what they need now. And then they want 4 more, so they have some alternates. Rumor is AJ is going to do opening statements that is supposed to be, or presumed to be, Tuesday next week. Because apparently you don't like Jesus and take the days off around Easter. It's okay. I like the fella. He turned water into wine. So we'll take, in Denmark, we'll take Thursday and Friday off. But if you Americans don't do it, I will be here, especially if the Karen Reed trial started. And just to prepare us all for the Karen Reed trial, I have my my new merch with the Canton Triangle cups, a very small, medium girl-sized T-shirt with the Canton Triangle, and well, it's not for fat men like me, but those, I got 2 cups and I got 2 shirts. I got a book, I got some chocolate, and I got some amazing people supporting my channel and have had a lot of subs. So we will be doing a giveaway sometime Saturday where you can win one of these gifts if you want to participate in the giveaway. Donna T, was it you who won twice the last time? I think it was Donna T who won twice. Valhalla cheated in that one as well, like when he became mod of the year. We don't have Saturday half day anymore, but yeah, we'll have Thursday, Friday, and Monday off as well. I'm not saying we are better Christians, but Jesus is a homeboy. Yeah. Well, that I saved $12 on shipping on that one then. So if you want to try and win something, I'm not sure the women's size shirt would fit most women who is above normal, well, not above, but has a normal BMI. But if you have a daughter or a granddaughter, maybe it'll fit her. So if you want to come by, it'll be Saturday. I get my merch from FD Food Fairy. So I get a little give back from my giveaways. But I'll set up that I will set up the giveaway for Saturday. Now I'm getting tired. It's almost 11 o'clock. I have hard time thinking. Tomorrow, I think we're back at 9 o'clock. I'll put a stream up, and yeah, I saw on Twitter that when the day went home, Brandy put up that 12 people have been found. Jamie's birds are the worst grifters, and we'll be back covering this tomorrow. Cross will continue, then probably recross, then charging conference, and maybe closing arguments tomorrow. I just looked up the time in Denmark before I said that. It's weird because I have a what's it called? World clock. So I have Eastern Standard Time and Danish time, but my Danish time, I think it's still on winter time because it's an hour behind. I have to go fix that. Is there anything you can tell us Americans about the future? It's dark. It's dark out. They got 3 more jurors today and 1 was let go. So 2 more jurors was added today. They have 12 jurors. Opening statements is suspected to be Tuesday. Alan Jackson will open for the defense. I hope he does better than he did with his closing. I was not a fan of his closings. I'm just saying. Everyone, go out there. Have a great day. Come back tomorrow and let's see where this show stops. Let's see if we can figure out, did he do it or did she deserve it? No, she didn't. It's a teaser. And whatever you do, don't do anything I wouldn't do.
What exhibit are you referring to?
I'm going to make this 100, Your Honor.
All right.
100.
100.
Because it is 100%
100%.
correct.
Objection, Your Honor.
So you literally built a cannon?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
All right, I'm in love.
Go back. Please do that again. Oh, that was the cutest thing I've ever seen.
While I'm waiting for this, did you, whether it's true or not, believe that Mr. Randolph had slept with your wife?
I wouldn't care.
You wouldn't have cared?
No,
Did you believe he had slept with your wife?
no,
Did you believe he slept with your mother-in-law?
probably did. Everybody has.
So there-
Everybody has.